Gabe, you will love Nina in Six of Crows. I promise you, you will love her.
I hope I will. I'll get to it later. I'll get to it later.
She just kills everyone all the time.
All right,
You'll also love Kaz in the books, though.
Yeah, Kaz in the book. I'm going to touch on that later, actually.
I'm already sold on Kaz.
It doesn't take much. As soon as he had his first line in the book, I was like, "Yep."
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. As soon as he showed up, that he just fucking
No,
I love characters like that so much.
Jesper.
Yeah, the shady underworld lords or whatever. I thought he was sick.
Great.
They
not even just crime modes, but like just little fucking gremlin bastard men. You need to fuck you, man.
Alex, do you now see what it's like being a podcast host?
Director, producer, all right, actors.
A podcast host of a bunch of ADHD writing children. I'm sure normal podcast people don't have it.
I've been at this
since undergrad children under the influence, dare I say.
Fucking God. Yeah, I've been doing this for 39 episodes and a whole bunch of other things, which you can find on the InkGuild.
You're just self-promoting to the people.
You're self-promoting your podcast on your podcast on the episode that you're on.
That's pretty meta.
Yeah. I don't buy it. Just go to fucking therapy.
If I develop Sims, delete the channel.
Fuck capitalism. We need to start a revolution.
And you know what? I'm gonna say it. I can't replace a fire alarm on my home. Technically, 25 is technically you.
Sing your morning routine.
Hello, everybody. My name is Dean, and welcome back to the InkGuild podcast. Tonight, for this episode, we have the largest ensemble tonight joining us. So first, I have Alex.
Hello.
Gabe.
Hello.
Brooke.
Hey.
Charbel.
Hello.
And returning after so fucking long, Jessica.
Hi.
So, tonight we are going to be talking about Shadow and Bone, particularly the Netflix series, which has been released as of this episode quite a while now. It stars Jessie May Lee as Alina Starkov, the main character, Archie Renault as Mal, Freddie Carter as Kaz Brecker, Amita Suman as Inej Gaffa, probably mispronouncing her last name wrong, Kit Young as Jesper Fahy, and Ben Barnes as General Kirigan. And holy shit, we have been waiting so long to talk about this show ever since it released. We have had a lot of concerns amongst ourselves and as fans of the Shadow and Bone trilogy by Leigh Bardugo. And when it was released, I absolutely cannot stress this enough. All of us here off podcast have been nonstop talking about it. Alex and I have been when she binged the episode, or when she binged the series in a day, we were in constant communication about freaking out about things. We've had memes about this show. We've loved this show to death for both book readers and for people who just watch the series. It's a wonderful show and we can't wait to talk about it. But because we are talking about a pretty notable series, we just have a few restrictions. So I said before to everyone here that we would do a check-in before, but I think let's just skip past that because I think tonight is going to be a long episode. So there's no check-in. I'd like to focus on just Shadow and Bone, the book, and Six of Crows if we're going to be comparing the show to the book, because not everyone is, or not all of us have read the series. I'm still currently getting through Siege and Storm, but I have read through Shadow and Bone, the original book, Six of Crows, and Crooked Kingdom. I believe Alex has read all the books. Brooke has read all the books. I think Jessica has probably read all of the books.
Yep.
And Charbel and Gabe are the only ones who have only seen the show. If it hasn't already been obvious, massive spoiler warning ahead of time. But yeah, massive spoiler warning. We're going to be talking about so many things within the show, within the books. So please don't flame us if you haven't already seen the show. First of all, why haven't you seen it? It's fucking great. It's only 8 episodes, under an hour a piece. Do it. And this is about where I lost control of the episode. After this point, do not expect the same kind of structure that we at the InkGuild have typically been having with our podcast. This was a lot of unfiltered thoughts kind of spewing in kind of out of nowhere, but to be honest, it was one of the most fun episodes that we've ever done, and probably my personal favorite, because it's just thing. It really then just became a bunch of friends talking about something they really enjoyed. Like, you know, typically we would have some kind of structure for everyone listening, but really, like, this is the most authentic we get. So let us know in the comments below if you kind of want more of this kind of stuff. But yeah, from this point on, it gets kind of out of control, as it were, but like, I didn't mind it, and hopefully you guys don't mind it too. But again, spoiler warning. With all of that being said, let's get on to episode 1, which introduces a lot of the characters. But first off, we start off by getting introduced to Alina drawing a map with a bunch of other cartographers heading to the docks, or like the military encampment.
Yeah, the dry docks at Bersk.
Yeah. Can you tell that I'm having a hard time remembering names? So
I have the map out, so I'm good with names.
Okay, thanks, Alex.
If you need a name, hit me up.
Yeah. So in this first episode, we're introduced to Alina, we're introduced to Mal, we're also introduced to the Crows, which is Kaz, Inej, and Jesper. They each, in their own way, have an amazing character introduction, which we'll touch on when we elaborate more on the episode. But basically, episode 1 is where everything kicks off.
I have a lot to say, but I think it'd be interesting to hear from show-only fans first.
Yeah.
Yeah. You go first, Gabe.
Okay, I'm just trying to remember like what all happened in the first episode, but basically I thought that first fucking episode was like, that was bang on just like getting me like into the series, and just just getting me into it. I think as far as first episode, I mean, like I'm more approaching this from the viewpoint of like someone who likes like TV shows and shit, but like than like the actual book and the characters. But I thought like for our first episode, I thought it did a really good job at like establishing like what the story's about, who are like the key characters in it, what's going on, like what are their motivations, all that good shit. And it like, I think I talked about this a little bit like outside of the pod, like days ago, when I was in the middle of the series, but like I thought it did a really fucking incredible job at like world building. Like I've heard this is something that's in the books, but I don't know because I can't read. And I've heard that like, well, for what I saw in the show, it's very like the world is very sort of matter of factly presented, and like there's not really a lot of like, oh, this is blah 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 from the pants shitting realm. This is this guy, and he can do this magic, and I'm gonna spend the next 20 fucking minutes explaining what this magic is. It's just like you see a bunch of people doing fire shit, and they're like, "Oh, that's a Grisha. They fucking suck. I hate them." And then I've learned so it's more elegantly presented in the show, but like I gleaned so much from like the way that it presents a lot of like the stuff in that first episode that are like key lore elements, key plot elements, and I'm just like, I'm like in it. I know everything. I know all these characters' names. I'm with it now. I'm sold. Episode 1.
I'm glad I didn't interrupt you before you said that, but Alex, if you want to help me out with this, to touch on what you said, Gabe, Leigh Bardugo in the books does a really clear job with focusing on what's matter of fact when it comes to the plot without sacrificing the kind of world building that is essential to, making it hers. Like, I agree with you 100%. There isn't too much focus away from the main story, and it when it does tend to when the show world builds, it's all still very focused and not too it doesn't really kind of deviate like how some other YA fantasy authors would be like, okay, so like you said, here's a magic device that kind of doesn't really expand on the thing. Everything that is like exposited basically works, and it's relevant to the story, and it keeps everyone interested without kind of deviating away.
I think just to expand on that, because you said like a lot of the world building feels natural and there's not a lot of standstills. The only parts that I felt were like kind of like, explained to the audience was what the fold is and how it was created. But those felt like I feel like the show did a good job of like incorporating that into it naturally. So, it wasn't the Ravkan characters that were like, oh, we're going to explain our history to people who already know it. It was the Crows who were explaining it because they were trying to figure out, how to get across it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a good way of
their culture.
Yeah.
Like, it's like a thing that they know generally exists, but they don't really like. I thought, the way that like when Jesper is like, why don't they just dig? It's funny that Jesper, the first thing Jesper says when he's talking about it is like, why don't they just dig under it? Because I remember a fucking week ago we were talking about the series, and I was like, why don't they just dig under it?
Yeah.
Also,
I was so impressed.
It's addressed in the show.
You were right. And I was so impressed with that because I was like, wow, they immediately took like the first thing that like the random schmucks would think of when they see this world element, and they like put the explanation for it like. And not only did they put an explanation for it, like bam, first thing, but it's also used as like a bit of lore explanation for what the fuck's going on and like what the fold is.
Right.
Also,
which is super fucking clever.
Also, like the first two scenes, again, I'm only with the show, I never read the books, is like I really like Mel just drawing, or fuck, what's her name? Alina? Yeah.
Alina.
Fucking drawing the fold in her little map book. It looks so fucking creepy. And then the next scene is actually seeing it. That kind of got me hooked because it just looked so fucking dark and gloomy. And then when you see the first army, it's all raggy-taggy, just like at the military base right under the fold, I thought that got me, those first two scenes already kind of got me hooked onto it, which is good.
Yeah, I have a lot to say about the fold, like, and the way it's introduced in the show. I think it's really, really, really well done. Because like you kind of like get glimpses of it again. You see it like on the maps. You see how big it is, and then as everyone gets close to it, you can like really feel the dread. You have like Alina, one like they're debating like who's going to go across, and Alina finds out. I
like that so much, honestly.
When Alina finds out Mal goes across, and you can see her like the like blood drain from her face, and she's like basically begging him not to go, and so she's so desperate for him to not go through the fold alone that it like kicks off the whole plot. And I think the build up of the dread and the horror of what this thing is really, really well done. And then we get into the fold, and you're like, yeah, this lives up to expectations.
That's what I liked, because I was like, when I saw all that dread from Alina, I was like, I want to fucking go in there as a viewer. And then it's like the third or fourth scene. It's like, let's fucking get in there. And I was like, holy shit! Until
halfway through the first episode, that's
like, still good though. I was worried. I was worried if it was like the end of the season they go in. That's what I was worried about. I like that's like the end of the first episode. They just get in there, and I was like, this is sick.
It does such a like for that purpose, it does a pretty decent job of pacing itself. However, I think pacing overall, I think I had mentioned this when I had first seen the episode with you guys a couple of weeks ago, but I think I was a little bit iffy about the pacing. Like I liked how the like what I'll refer to as the main story of Alina and Mal getting onto the sand skiff and heading into the fold, that paced itself really well. However, the episode overall kind of had not a huge pacing issue, but because of events that happened within the story, the Crows are introduced kind of midway through, and we'll actually touch on character introductions in a second, but like the pacing of it itself, like I was a little bit worried because it was jumping between the main story and then flashbacks of Alina and Mal, which was relevant to portray, which was relevant to establish the relationship. But the events, or like the crows getting introduced, all of that kind of takes place after the events of crossing the fold, or after what happens in the fold. So I think I'll actually get on the movie, like I'll get on just the show people in a second, but basically, yeah, I felt like that was a little bit weird the first time I watched it. Upon a second rewatch, I was kind of more used to it. But yeah, so to the show only watchers, what did you guys think of like the pacing overall?
I thought it was fine, honestly.
I don't really have an issue. I mean, okay, my one gripe, I guess, in terms of pacing was like, I thought it was a lot of flashbacks for a first episode. That was like my one.
Yeah,
but that's like, it didn't really bother me so much once I was sold on the series. I think that was like my one thing. Like the very start of the episode, there's like 2 flashbacks like back to back, and when but in the very first moments when I was starting the series, I was like, that's a lot. But then like as the series got on and I got into it and I got invested in the characters, by then I was like, I don't really care. The flashbacks are cool. I like seeing backstory about these characters now that I like them.
I like the first, but near the end I kind of got annoyed because they showed that scene of Alina and Mel in the field like 6 fucking times. I was like, hey, all right, I get it, like fuck off. Like, they kept repeating it. It reminded me of like Naruto when they showed the scene of Naruto getting bullied. They showed that every 5 fucking seconds. But I liked the first episode. That was fine.
Brooke, Jessica, what did you guys think on the pacing, or like the pacing and or world building of the show? What did you guys think on that?
As far as pacing goes, Leigh Bardugo's books are very like high tension, and I felt like the show was missing that in a lot of scenes, like especially between the crows, because they're all just a bunch of criminals. There's usually a lot of tension between all of them. I feel like they haven't developed that enough. But as far as like pacing goes for Alina's story, that was pretty standard as to like what the book was. Like it was pretty close in terms of, this happens and then this happens and then that happens. And like it was easy to follow because I haven't read the books in like a couple of years now. So it was easy for me to kind of remember the books. Because the plot kind of moved at the same pace as the story does in the books as well. So I thought the pacing was good for Alina's story, but I wanted, like, the crows wasn't quite as, like, I don't know, quite as riveting as it was in the books. Like, I read 6 of Crows in, like, 2 days because I couldn't put it down. That's fair. I felt like it was missing the tension between Jesper and Inej and Kaz that they all have together, because even though they're friends and they work together, they're still like a group of criminals and they're all horrible people. So
Brooke, what do you think?
Well, I thought it started off really well by just like being immediately in the present and starting off with the journey to the fold, because in the book it starts with like that quick prologue of Alina and Mal in the orphanage. So I think it was good that they didn't have that to start and they just started immediately with them being older and then having flashbacks to younger instead. Because I think that definitely hooked an interest for what's going on and naturally built what the center conflict of this entire thing was going to be, was that it's all about the fold. I'm not like the biggest fan of like exposition at the beginnings of shows, but it was so like minimal that I didn't really care that it was there for this. And something I was noticing while I was rewatching some of the episodes today was I absolutely love the transitions in between flashbacks and main story and the crows, because I noticed with one of the flashbacks it showed like a close-up of Mal holding the bunny, right? But you can see his wrapped hand, and then it immediately transitions into older Mal with his wrapped hand about to fight. And I was like, oh, that's good. And it transitions for the first time to the crows by having Alina and Mal talking about the Krug Krug. Wait, how do you say their currency?
Kruga.
Yeah, Kruga. And they're like, you can't go spend this, you're not in Ketterdam. And then immediately flashes over to Ketterdam. And it's like, ah ha ha.
Okay.
That was a wonderful transition. Yeah,
Oh
I
yeah,
agree.
the transitions in the show are absolutely amazing. Whoever did them
There's another one that I actually wanted to talk about in the second episode when like Mal is like preparing to go chase after Alina and his friends are like stop him, and then one of them makes a comment about like doing foolish things for the people you care about, and it immediately cuts to Kaz walking into Antoline's room to give him the deed to the
I love
Crow
that.
Club.
That was a great transition.
I was going to mention that too. Oh,
I was so happy that they hinted at Kaz and Inej's like deep dark relationship. I was like, yes.
I don't know if it's just hints though. They really explored it. Like especially
They make googly eyes at each other that whole series.
Yeah.
There's so many good Kaz and Inej moments.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I think before we kind of get scatterbrained, as we would kind of typically do anyway, as we were speaking on transitions and episode 2, let's start off our discussion on episode 2 by actually doing character introductions. So I had listed off some of the 6 main people within the show. So there's General Kirigan, Alina, Mal, Jesper, Kaz, and Inej. God, my mind blanked for a second. And I think because there are these 6 main characters and there are 6 of us, let's each talk about one of them. And I kind of feel bad assigning shit to talk about because I know that like we have a lot of different favorite characters. So I will be talking about Mal's introduction. So I'll be talking about probably the one that is maybe the weaker of all 6.
Can I claim General Kirigan because I love his intro?
Okay, so Alex will claim General Kirigan. Brooke, who do you want to claim?
heck, I don't know. Someone else pick first.
I'll assign you Kaz. Because I know everyone else would want to talk about Kaz, but let's get your perspective on that instead.
Shit.
Sorry, guys.
I'll talk about Jesper.
Okay, so
Fuck, I want Jasper. It's okay. It's okay.
so then
Inej, I've got. Give me Inej. Give me Inej. I need one of them.
You can talk about Inej, and then Charbel, you're going to be talking about Alina.
Okay, I'll take her. I liked her at the end.
So because we are talking about, because the story is mostly focused on Alina, let's talk about her introduction first. So to kind of backtrack a little bit, Charbel, what did you think on Alina's introduction into the show?
Well, I liked her for the first episode. The whole orphanage scenes I thought were great about her, Mal, and her. I like for the beginning when she's drawing maps at the orphanage, and later she becomes like the map maker, whatever they call him, the choreographer,
Cartographer.
the army. Cartographer, that's the word. The army. I thought that was sick, and I like seeing her like friendly. I want to say friendly. You know, at the time, it's friendly relationship with Mal. She was really cool. Her just like fucking watching everyone get slaughtered in the fold was like, the actress was great and everything. And then even her learning that she's a Grisha was just great acting. And my only kind of beef with her is later on in the series, and it's a very mild beef. But overall, I was already hooked onto her. And I was like, she's obviously the main character. Well, I would say I didn't know she was obviously the main until the part where they show her light powers. And I was like, everyone's freaking out about her. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, like she is, like as the main character, I agree. Her introduction was pretty well done. It's kind of establishes the humble beginnings thing, the connection with Mal, which I'll touch on in a second. But yeah, like I agree that they do a really good job of introducing Alina. And like Brooke had said, like starting them off before crossing the folds without going all the way back to the orphanage was a really good way of like catching everyone up to speed.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on... Sorry.
They also, like, we already talked about this before, is they don't focus on, like, explaining the lore. Like they don't pause everything to explain the lore. They do it in such a naturally flowing way where they're like, yeah, we're East Ravkan, fucking those counter damn guys are the West Ravkan. There's the Shoho at the south and the whatever the other dudes are called in the north. I like how natural it felt throughout the first 2 episodes of just explaining the world really naturally, and each character had reasoning as to why they asked these questions.
Mm-hmm. So
to be clear, Ketterdam is not in Ravka; it's in a different country. But
yeah,
no, wait. Oh shit, never mind.
Okay, so I guess I'll touch on Mal's introduction then. Mal's introduction was pretty good. Like, it starts off, everyone kind of knows from the beginning without having read the books that Mal and Alina are friends that have, they're childhood friends. And how they introduce him first is through a flashback. So it is that sequence where they're at the orphanage that I kind of forget the name to, but they're at the orphanage. Karamzin, sorry. So, they're there, they're very close together. And within that one sequence, actually, it kind of, I kind of caught something that I didn't really pay much attention to in the beginning, but now that I've paid attention to it, it's like, holy shit, it is the rice eater comment, which, to kind of deviate away from Mal's introduction for just a second, it's like,
yeah,
just a little bit. Like, it's like, obviously they touch on the fact that Alina is half Shu throughout the entire show, but like that first one is like, holy shit, they're really upfront with that. But to go back to Mal's introduction, that serves more as that flashback does serve more to introduce Mal as this fearless kind of person, and what they do with that kind of fearlessness is a fight, which personally I think they could have done a different way of that, because upon the first watch I was like, okay, this is cool. It shows a lot more of Mal's depth as a character. Like, he can fight, but he's also a really good tracker. But I think upon a second rewatch, personally, it was like, could they not have just shown him tracking? If he is such this well-renowned tracker, like, couldn't they just shown him in action? But I kind of understand the necessity for a fight scene. It kind of changes the pace a little bit so that, there's suddenly a lot of there's suddenly a lot of action, because everything up until then has just been building up and exposition. So they kind of needed to cut that a little bit. And I think doing that with Mal was a pretty decent idea. Like, maybe not my favorite, but
yeah, I found the fight scene really interesting because I watched the show when it came out, and then I reread the book, and then I rewatched the show. And like, going into the show the first time, I was like, yeah, Mal fights, that's a thing. I remember that in the book. And then I read the book and it wasn't there, and I was like, oh, wait,
yeah, it was a show
why do I
exclusive
remember
thing.
that happening?
I don't think I had read the book recently, and that didn't happen at all. Like,
definitely didn't happen in the first book. I'm wondering if it happened in a later book, but I don't think it did. So I don't know why I remember that happening in the book.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure it might have just been something that, like, it might have just been what I said, and that's just a way to cut the tension, but who knows why they put it in. So after Mal and Alina are introduced, then in what is arguably some of the best introductions that I've ever seen in a fantasy series, we're introduced to the Crows, and the first of which is Jesper at the Gambler's Table and the Crow Club.
Okay, Jesper's introduction was honestly, like, so when I was introduced to Alina, I was like, okay, yeah, I remember her from the book. She's pretty good. And then Mal showed up, and I was like, I hate this guy, which I'll get into later, but I hate him. And
what the okay, oh my god, all right,
yeah,
okay.
Why? I like them.
Later,
fine, later.
We can talk about this later.
Yeah.
Fine.
So I was kind of like, okay, like, it's not bad, it's a Netflix adaptation, so I didn't really have high expectations. And then they introduced Jesper, and I was like, yes. So he's like sitting at the gambler's table, losing all of his money because he's horrible at gambling, but he does it anyway. And he just like straight up tells the guy, like, you're using fake currency. And he's like, yeah. He throws the coin up in the air and shoots it, and the bullet goes through. And he's like, that means it's fake. And I was like, yes. I was like, that is Jesper from the books, hands down. Literally just taking out his gun to shoot a coin in midair to prove to someone that all the money he won is fake. And, like, it was so good because he was so funny. Well, still, obviously he's a criminal, right? I mean, he's gambling and he's shooting and, you know, doing all of this stuff. But I think they really nailed the, like, sarcastic kind of wry humor that Jesper has throughout the books. Mm-hmm. And it was like that moment where I was like, yup.
Introducing, like, the way that, to expand on that, the way, like, Kit Young was a perfect, like, a textbook perfect person to play Jesper, because, like, from the way that he delivered all of that, like, his facial expressions and, like, his body language, which was wonderful. Like, he really understands Jesper, Kit Young, and I commend him for that so much.
He's so charming. He's so charming. I love him.
Yeah, he did such a good job. He was, like, funny, but he was also, you know, vaguely threatening because he is, like, a sharpshooter. So you're like, oh, okay. And then he's, like, joking around about, like, gambling and stuff, and you're like, ooh.
Mm-hmm. So
and his vanity is also just throughout the show is so perfect.
His vanity is such a great way, and
so great.
They portray like that kind of cockiness. Like, the vanity really does complement his cockiness and his sarcasm. Mm-hmm. It's such a nice touch. But anyway, on the gambler's table, as the person is getting hauled away, Jesper goes to collect his money, but a cane stops him. The cane of one Kaz Brecker. Brooke, take it away.
Yeah, Kaz Brecker, our Mr. Dark, gloomy, serious boy, and
I love him.
Dirty Hands himself.
I think it's quite interesting to me, actually, that they introduce him first with his cane, because I feel like they actually didn't play up his cane role nearly as much as they did in the books, which was a little disappointing to me. Like,
there was one scene where he's like, my leg hurts near the end. And I was like, what? There's
a few. There's a few.
It's not quite as much, though, because I always felt like his cane was definitely a staple of him. It was like a perfect way to have an image of a person that someone would underestimate. And that's like what everyone does all the time with him. They're always underestimating him in the books. But he used it to his advantage. He had the cane specifically made for him to be weighted perfectly to break bones. And it doesn't.
Yeah, it's like a weapon that doesn't look like a weapon, so he can get away with it.
He needs it because he is hurt, but it's multi-purpose and it's great. So it's good that they introduced that first. It was the cane and then up to Kaz, and of course we get like all we need to know about him immediately because, you know, Jesper calls him boss, so we know that he's the big boss man. He's serious and cold and calculated. He has a dark face, and then Roddy comes up immediately and we get to hear about his skills as a thief, because Roddy like literally just exposits all of that, just like, 4 roaming guards, a barbed wire fence, all these specific kinds of banks and whatnot, and he stole the decapple. Can I sell the decapple? And then we go into the office and there's the decapple. So we get like all we need to know about him just like immediately. And then of course the second character that we get introduced to, which is very important to Kaz, is Inej.
Gabe, you're up.
Yeah. Inej's introduction was like super fucking cool. I didn't really know shit about Inej going into the series. So like when Kaz like turns away from the window and like gives that knowing look and then like turns away and he's like, hello Inej, and then fucking background fades in and Inej is just standing there like a fucking ninja. I was like, oh shit, she's a fucking ninja. Holy shit.
She doesn't get the nickname the Wraith for nothing. She is wonderful.
She's so badass.
So cool.
Yeah. She is my favorite character, hands down.
I would be honored if she killed me. Like,
wait, about that did she really never kill someone? Because it was like 6 episodes later and she's like, I never killed someone. I'm like, what's the point of all the fucking knives you're carrying? Are you making a salad?
Are
For
you
the
kidding?
aesthetic?
For the aesthetic.
Well, okay,
I'm
no.
gonna get to the knives in a second. Actually, I'm gonna
It's so
I'm gonna get to
If
the
we're
knives.
touching on the knives for a pure,
I need to talk about the fucking knife scene. The knife scene. I need to fucking talk about that
That's what
shit
I was
so
talking
much.
about.
I know it's not technically her introduction, but like ever since we started talking about introductions, I was like, okay, Inej's actual introduction, I'm like lukewarm about it. It's a cool ninja introduction. She has like a little Batman moment. It's cool. The fucking knife scene is her character introduction. I will die on that hill. That's like her
Absolutely.
actual like that's like in
That's
the fucking Dark Knight when the Joker shows up at the beginning, he's there, but the scene later when he's with the mob, that's his introduction. And the same goes for Inej. But the fucking knife scene, that's when I was sold on Inej as a fucking character.
Mhm.
There is like the fact that it's my favorite trope in any movie or any piece of media ever, that completely aside, it's like
Okay, no, don't put that aside because I want to consider that too.
I'm not putting it aside. I'm not putting that in general aside, but I'm putting like the fact that it's my favorite trope aside. There's also so much like good characterization happening in that little moment. Like most of the time in a movie, like if a character has like that scene where they're like, okay, I need to remove all your weapons. They spend like fucking 10 years taking off all their weapons and shit, and then like reaching into like their fucking boots, their pants, their fucking shirt, their fucking hair. They got weapons everywhere, and it's like okay, this character's armed and dangerous. But then she puts the knives down on the table, and like a lot more characterization happens there for me. Because like just that one shot, I'm gonna send a picture to the chat. I don't know if you'll this will make the episode, but I'm gonna send a fucking picture to the chat because there's so much fucking like good characterization happening in just that shot of her fucking knives. Like
you can see how much she cares about them, and like the care she puts putting them down and like counting them out.
Yeah.
She's very delicate with the knives, and they're all like fucking gorgeous looking knives. They're all either black or silver, and they have like gold handles on them, and they all have fucking names engraved onto them and shit. And like, I
don't think this is mentioned in the show at all, but like in the books, all of her knives are named after saints in like the religion that she follows.
They mention it in episode 6 when she like throws the knife at that guy's head, and Kaz says, "Don't forget your saint." He's talking about the knife. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like briefly mentioned.
But like I think that's something I wish they had done that a little bit more in the show, because I think that's a really important part of her characterization is her faith and the way that her relate to it. But yeah, so fun fact for those of you who haven't read the books, all her knives are named after saints.
Mm-hmm.
I think the part that really got me wasn't just I didn't know what the name said because I don't read the books, but like I think the part that got I don't know if this was intentional or if they just picked these knives because they looked cool, but I was really into the fact that like, and maybe this is just me being a fucking nerd about weapons and shit, but like I was really into the fact that like all these knives were like distinctly from like different cultures and stuff. Mm-hmm. Like you got some fucking kunais in there, you got some fucking krambits, you got some like old Nordic shit, you got some like old English shit, you got a fucking Mongolian dagger hanging out there. Like I was like, okay, this is not just a weapons collector. This is someone who's fucking been around, gets weapons from the places she goes, and like fucking takes care and maintains them. I just learned so much about Inej from like this one shot. Like if I were someone who made who makes video essays and I saw this scene, I would climax.
See, like when I saw that shit, when I saw all those knives and shit, I was like, this is a stone cold assassin killer. I love it. And then they pulled that shit on like episode 4, where she's like, I'll never kill someone. I'm like, well, why are you carrying all these knives? I don't know if this was a Netflix thing because I only seen the show, but that whole scene didn't really sold on me. Yeah. And then she's like,
it definitely wasn't a Netflix thing. She kills like 4 people.
The thing is,
without reason.
It's not
without reason, but she.
I don't think it's introduced badly because it's like literally in like this second episode where she goes to Jesper and is like, I need you to kill a guy for me, and he's like, why? And she's like, you know why? Like it's hinted at before it gets to the point where she explicitly or where it's explicitly stated.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
she only kills what she has to kill for a reason. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Cass will just kill you because you know, walk
I
too
thought she
close
just
to his
doesn't
cane
kill
or
in
something,
general.
but-
When I'm like, what? I was like, what is this bullshit?
It's because she's a very religious character. That's a really important part of her character, is that she's like very religious. And so like there's the part where the conductor is like notices her like religious thing and is like, oh, the saints won't forgive murder. That's why. And I want to talk about this later because like oof, but yeah, it is hinted out throughout like the whole show. It's not just sprung on you later.
Okay. I must have skipped fuck Netflix, man.
The fact that like she didn't kill people, like when she was like she doesn't kill people, I don't even think that like gleaned my brain that she has all these knives but she doesn't kill, because I was like, I think the way I processed it, I was like, oh well, there's monsters in this world. She probably just uses it for the monsters if she encounters them. That makes sense. And then it just left my mind after that. I was like, she has knives and she's a badass and she's a ninja and there are monsters.
Mine was always Inej was never really about like killing. That's definitely Kaz and Jesper do most of the killing in the books. Inej was just threatening, and I think that's why she like carries her body weight in knives, because it's more threatening than like Jesper. Jesper with his like sharpshooter guns and stuff. She's much more threatening because she's carrying weapons that like it won't just kill you, but
that is actually another like interesting piece of like characterization going on there, because it's like it's like established a little bit that she's not like a killer person, but then she has like all this fucking unloading scene where she just dumps her knife collection, and like it like with those two things together, it's like she just has these she's more interested in like freaking someone the fuck out and being like, I'm not gonna mess with this bitch. She has a million knives, and she'll murder me with all of them at once. Then like,
okay, all right. I need
so derailed.
I need to put the brakes on this for just a minute.
Train is more derailed than the train going through the fold with 16 ounces of coal.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So
I have thoughts about that scene.
The only reason why I love Inej, so I love talking about her. So, God, I completely forgot that we were doing a fucking podcast. So, sorry everybody for listening, or sorry for everybody who's been listening, wanting to get to General Kirigan. But yeah, Inej is my favorite character.
Oh, yeah, right.
I kind of had to go through with this. So yeah,
let's talk about the fucking Darkling. Hell yeah.
Woo!
One quick
boy.
Okay, wait. One final thing, Amita Suman, if you're listening to this, we love you. Thank you for portraying this wonderful character really well. Anyway, the Darkling.
Shout out to all the actors if any of you ever listen to this.
Yeah.
And Leigh Bardugo, because she's awesome.
Yes, thank you, Leigh Bardugo. Okay, the Darkling.
Okay, so he's really great because you only see like glimpses of him at first. Like I think the first time you see any glimpses of him is when the Crows are talking about like the Black Heretic and how the Fold was created. And then you just see him like, you see his feet walking as he goes out to his crew or whatever. And then you don't see him again until like the midpoint of the episode as everyone's getting on the sand skiff to go into the fold. And Alina's scarf flies off and she turns around and you see a black figure just like standing at the docks, watching them. And then it cuts to behind him. So like you don't get to see his face. And then you don't see his face at all until the second episode. And I fucking love this scene because he's such a dramatic bitch and I love him for it. Oh my God. Like
she's so dramatic.
She's like dragged into his tent. Everyone's standing, waiting for her arrival. He's standing at the table with his back to her for like no reason. And he's like, bring her closer. And then she like stumbles forward a little bit and then he turns around all dramatically and you're like, oh, it's Prince Caspian.
Yes, it's Prince Caspian. He did not grow up to be a good king. He's horrible.
No, but I just think that's funny. But like he just like turns around all dramatically and like gives her a look, and he's such a dramatic bitch, and I love him for it.
So like, good.
There's no reason for him to have to turn around like that. He just does it for the dramatics.
With like his long coat and stuff, and he's just like,
yeah.
I would too, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, He's also like someone that you've kind of heard a little bit about in the show. Like, you saw his like carriage arrive or whatever, and everyone's like, oh, is it him? Is he gonna? And then like, you get this feeling that he's this really important dude, but then you also get him like he's inherently tied to the fold, which I think is like really good foreshadowing. Can you call it foreshadowing if it's obvious he's the villain? But like,
yes, because it's not obvious at first.
It was so. I just agree completely. It was so obvious that I almost didn't believe it because it was too obvious. But
in fairness, in the show, it's very obvious. In the books, it's a little bit less obvious.
Unclear.
It is.
Like, you would think
he is in the book, though.
He is literally just called the Darkling in the book, which I think makes it really funny when it's like, oh wait, the Darkling's the bad guy.
Like I mentioned this. What? Yeah, I mentioned this with Alex when her and I were basically like live tweeting like the events of the show as we were watching it. I am happy that they decided to give some kind of name to him, like an actual name. So, or like a title at least. So General Kirigan was like, first off, from a show perspective, that gives new viewers a title to kind of like properly, to remember. Because if it was just called the Darkling, one, you've given away your villain as if you already haven't done that. And two, for book lovers, I can't speak on the community, but like as someone who had read Shadow and Bone recently for the first time ever, I kind of assumed that he was the villain from the start.
So on Netflix, the ominous music when he's like that scene that Alex mentioned, which are all amazing scenes, when he's staring into the fold holding her scarf and there's like ominous music playing. I was like, I don't trust this fella. He's staring at Alina of the boat.
Well, he's not though, because he doesn't know who Alina is at that point.
But it's still just a badass shot of the fold that he's standing there. Because the plot twist got me. I was like, what is this? I loved it.
But yeah, I do think giving him like General Kirigan, like it makes it obvious who he is like in the world. Like, if someone's just called the Darkling, you're like, who is that? Do they have a role at court? But with General, you're like, okay, he's in charge of like, or he's a major part of the army, which you've been seeing a lot of because like, the first part takes place in the army. So it gives him like a very like an obvious important role. And then when, she's dragged to his tent, and you're just like, oh, she's going to see the general. Whoa. And, I think that gives him a lot of power.
I didn't think he was a bad guy till the end, till like halfway, a quarter way, which is good.
Not have a name at all in the books? Like, I forget, because I know he does go by the Darkling because of his, like, shadow stuff.
I think you do learn that his name is Alexander at some point in the book. I feel like Baghra tells someone that.
I was gonna say, like, I definitely thought he had a name. I just think that I thought that you just learned it later. I was trying to remember.
Like, do, and it's more intimate, and they just kind of drop it.
Yeah, they're like, his name is Alexander, and I'm like,
it's like when they're getting on the horse, he's like, by the way, call me Alexander. I'm like, no, that's not.
He needs to have a name.
No. He doesn't need to have a name.
The title General Kirigan works fine.
Is it annoying in the book?
If I was friends with someone and they insisted on them calling me General Kirigan, I would punch them in the balls.
They're not friends at that point.
Sure they are. You just rescued her from the horse.
That doesn't automatically make you friends. Like
it does for me. If I was on the ground and some fucking Viking was over me and the guy came over and cut him in half, I'd be like, "Tell me your first name at the very least."
Wait, but like, is it annoying in the book?
Scared of him.
She is scared of him, but she's also a little horny.
Okay. All right. Okay. No.
I'm right. You know I'm right.
I disagree with you. I disagree with you.
It's square one seeing that motherfucker. I'm right.
Okay.
Anyway,
hold on.
To answer your question, in the book, like I said, I literally just reread it. He's literally referred to as the Darkling throughout pretty much all of it.
Would it be annoying as a reader? Like, here comes the Darkling.
It's a little annoying. It's a little
really?
Annoying.
That's a weird writing thing, man. What?
Yeah. Like, I'm happy that they decided to give him like a title in the show too. For
me too.
In the book, is that also his last name? Is that his real name in the book too, or am I
That I
fucking
don't
around?
know.
Alexander is his real name. I don't think Kirigan is.
Yeah,
Okay,
I think
okay.
that might have
Yeah.
just
I
been like
don't
some
think
kind of.
so.
I was like
Yeah.
shook when they called him General Kirigan for the first time. I was like, who the fuck is that?
Yeah, I was a bit
Right? I
confused
was
on
so
that too, yeah.
confused. I was like,
I don't know if I like having the Kirigan tacked onto it. If it was just the general instead of the Darkling, I'd be okay with it. But having the Kirigan, I'm like, he's too human already. Stop that.
Black Heretic, though, is such a badass name. I fucking love that.
Yeah,
I was
the
like,
Black
that is
Heretic
such a
is
sick
sweet.
name.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the lead up to.
We obviously can't call him that from the start. That's
I
like
looked up what his full name is, and I think it's a spoiler.
Okay,
Oh.
so don't do that.
Share it.
Okay.
Shut up.
I'm gonna look it up because I'm
Yo.
stupid.
For everyone at home, don't look it up. Just keep it as a mystery.
Everyone at home, Google it immediately and look it up and read it out loud and tell it to all your friends and loved ones.
Okay.
until they hate you.
All right. I'm
I guess
calling.
that is a spoiler. I don't know what that means though in the context. So, or without context. So I guess it's not a spoiler. We'll guess I'll find out.
Okay. Seeing
He
how,
has so much names. I love it.
okay. Seeing as how this format of going episode by episode is not going to work, I think I'm calling an audible right now and changing the formatting. So instead of us going by episode, let us each instead still touch on one. Okay, so the audible is we'll each go through at least one favorite moment of the show, because I think going episode by episode is just going to make this podcast 4 hours, and let's not do that to ourselves and to everyone listening.
Let's do it. Let's do 5-hour podcast.
Oh my god.
Oh no.
Future me will
6-hour
fucking hate you
podcast.
for doing this. Okay, so there is so much to talk about when it comes to this show, and I think for everyone, really, I'll save you guys the big plot events, and I'll start first, and I'll touch on the more technical aspects of the show first as my kind of signature moment, because going into the show, I was fucking worried about how they would present this entire series, because with Shadow and Bone obviously as a YA series, that's one thing, but because it had so many roots in Tsar era Russia and there was magic involved through the Grisha, like I was worried about how everything would look, and everything looks amazing. Like from the keftas, from the little palace, the fold itself, the costume design is one thing. It is wonderful looking at everybody. It is nice having color distinct keftas, which is both in the book, and to see it on screen is great. The magic from a technical standpoint is really well done. I think you kind of don't need to explain magic systems, which I've talked about in previous books. Like, it doesn't just happen, mind you. Like, obviously there is a complex system there, but it's easy enough to kind of follow along with it. Like Gabe said earlier, nothing ever really feels out of place. It all fits well into the narrative. You don't go exploring into the background lore of Corporal Nix, for example. Everything is meant to serve the plot and not kind of lose people who are just watching the show. Like, from a technical standpoint, that is great. It is portrayed really, really well. One other thing that I've touched on, like technical wise, that I've sent to Brooke, I've sent to Gabe, I've sent to Alex. Like, I love the fucking soundtrack in this series. Like, if it hadn't already been a thing, like, 38 fucking episodes ago, I love listening to music, especially instrumentals, because it helps me like write a lot of my own scenes. And the instrumental for this works so well. I think particularly when it comes to the crows, because those little like those little like violin beats or something, like those, I don't know what fucking instruments they use, but I know it's a string instrument. Like, whenever the crows are interacting or whenever the crows are in Ketterdam, that music fits their characters so well. Because in contrast with the main story, which has like these gorgeous instrumentals fitting for magic and fitting for Alina and Mal and all of them, the crows are a bunch of criminals and their music reflects that. It's kind of, it's not as regal as it is. There isn't big climaxes and whatever. It is short little moments. It's very precise and it fits them so well. Aside from that, we have already touched on the world building, which on a technical aspect works so well. Like the scope of Ketterdam and the scope of Ravka is portrayed really well. Other things from a technical standpoint, I think like the text is really nice to look at. Like it has the kind of elegance that the elegance and beauty that is familiar with Shadow and Bone. Because if you've never, like for those listening, if you've never seen Leigh Bardugo's book covers, you are really, really not treating your eyes to something, because they are beautiful.
Oh, they're so pretty.
They're so nice. The original editions and the new editions are both.
Yeah, they're both really nice.
Yeah, like
they're both amazing.
Leigh Bardugo, if you were listening to this, whoever you have designing your books, just give them a hug. I
will pay good money for them to design a cover for a book I will never finish.
I will
Thank you.
Yeah, I will fork over every last cent to have my book look the way Shadow and Bone does. Like Shadow and Bone aside, Six of Crows is still to this day the best looking book cover that I have ever seen.
It's really
Six of Crows. I have the hardcover edition, and
me too.
The edges of the pages for Six of Crows are black.
And for Crooked Pink, they're red.
Oh my god, that's so cool.
They're so nice. They're so nice.
I'm actually so disappointed.
It was well worth
the
like $40.
The only version of Six of Crows that was available at the bookstore I went to was like the Netflix cover. So I'm like, I am deprived of.
I hate when they do that, honestly.
Of a true beauty.
But
I've seen
for anyone paying attention, fun fact, in episode 7, I think it is, episode 6 or episode 7, when Jesper and Co are stealing the Darkling's carriage and David's inside reading a book, that book is the cover of Shadow and Bone, like a more fantasy version of it, but it's like a reference to it.
Yep. It's wonderful. So like there's so much like technical things about the show that makes it like I've said this before we started recording, and I like assuming I have it on record, I'll likely put it back into the intro or something, but like this is the best technical display of a YA fantasy series that I've ever seen adapted. Like there have been different YA stories throughout the past in both in both TV show and movie format that have tried nailing the scope of the world, and I think really the only one that does it to a really good extent is The Hunger Games. Like they nail that kind of world building and design and music and costuming, but up until then there hadn't really been ones that kind of competed with The Hunger Games. Like there have been Maze Runner, Divergent that had good scale and had pretty decent sound design and whatnot, but like from a technical perspective, it didn't really capture the kind of beauty that there was in the book.
I'm sorry, do you mean Shadowhunter?
Oh my god.
Okay, we're doing a breakdown on Cassandra Clare eventually, which we can touch on that. But
we're doing that next week, aren't we?
We are doing that next week. So
yeah, I'm gonna be there for that one. I got a lot to say.
We might have to
about adaptation.
More promos for us. Keep listening to us. But yeah. Anyway, I like going back to Shadow and Bone. Shadow and Bone, like from the cover alone, you kind of expect some kind of really nice visuals to go with this series, and they absolutely fucking nail it. And like I've said, the costume design, the sound design, the music, the like where they shot the locations, I've already said the costuming, but I cannot stress enough, the costuming works so fucking well.
The kaftans are so pretty. I want one.
Yeah, and the casting choices, I'm pretty sure that is also a very technical aspect, but like the casting choices, they nailed the casting choices. Kit Young as Jesper was fantastic. Freddie Carter was pretty much born to play Kaz, and I learned about the story and I can't really confirm it, but apparently Ben Barnes was predestined to play the Darkling from Tumblr, and I love that. And he
was, for context, he was basically a really popular fan cast for the Darkling, and then like on Tumblr for years, and then when he went into his like interview for the casting or whatever, he brought proof of that. And slid it over to the casting director and was like, "Bet you're gonna hire me now."
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it's like Henry Cavill going to the showrunner for The Witcher and being like, "Hey, yeah, I play the games. let me." But yeah, so to not take away any more time from my co-hosts here, Brooke, how about you? What is one thing that you want to talk about on the series overall?
Well. I think, what comes to my head first, obviously, is the whole mixing of the Shadow and Bone story with the crows, because it was really confusing when I saw the trailers for the first time and I saw the crows in it, and I was like, how is this happening? They're different timelines. But I was very happy with the incorporation that they pulled. And specifically, episode 5 is like my favorite because that's when we get to see the crows inside the palace and sort of interacting with people like Alina and the Darkling. And it's just so interesting to see them tie this in when it hadn't been possible at all in the original Six of Crows books. And I thought they did a really good job of making this all work and still being able to have Six of Crows play out in the next seasons if they so choose. Mm-hmm. I just thought it was really neat, and it's just like great the way that they built it up, like constantly flashing back and forth between Alina's timeline and Kaz and his crew's timeline, especially because like we start them off and it seems like they're at the same time, but we know that they can't be. It's like 2 weeks later, technically when Kaz's story starts, but it's like playing out at the same time, it appears to us, as Alina's. So I just thought that they did like a really good job, like catching them up to Alina's timeline and bringing them into the castle at that time, and just yummy. I love that. I love plot integration like that.
Yeah.
But something I found out recently that I have to quip about the show, because I know you're just talking about the casting. I've heard that they casted a white woman to be Inej's stunt double and basically made her brown face. So I'm not particularly happy with that. Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Probably the scene where she's like hanging, which was also a great scene. I was like, that has to be a stunt double. But I don't know if the actress could actually do that. That was fucking cool.
She said she trained for it, but like, that's
yeah.
There was definitely a stunt double for that stuff.
Oh no.
And she was wearing blackface. That's a choice.
She's covered all over, man. She's like wearing like I don't want to say fuck. What are they called? Ballerinas.
Bodysuit.
Bodysuit. Yes, that's a better word. As she's hanging from the ropes.
Mm-hmm. Touching on what Brooke said though about like the integration of the two stories. Yeah, I definitely I agree with Brooke a lot in that. Because for those listening who haven't read the books, Six of Crows takes place a couple years after the events of the last book. So having these two stories kind of intertwined for a lot of fans was kind of weird, because how are you going to integrate these two stories together? And I think what they ended up doing is a really nice thing, because what happens is they don't exactly take the story of Six of Crows and then try to mix that in with the main story of Alina's, but they rather just take the characters without losing any of their characterization and then just integrate them into this new plot that fits really well with the main story, which like really hats off to them for that. I was as someone who did start off with Six of Crows first, and as someone who prefers Six of Crows naturally over Shadow and Bone, I was really, really, really interested to see how these characters would interact, especially if they ever saw each other, right? Because of obviously the whole, you have until this time to get Alina Starkov for me, which I think works really well, like capturing a Sun Summoner for 2 million or for 1 million Kruga is a pretty good motivator for a bunch of criminals. And just how I think like on the execution itself, like what do you guys think on that? Like how do you think they handled the two?
I think it was really good personally.
Yeah.
Like you were talking about like the timeline of the first episode earlier, and I kind of wanted to touch on that briefly because I didn't get to. But like I feel like having the Crows get like this job and there's all this mystery around it, and you know, like because it goes back and forth between the two timelines, you see Alexei like run off, like fall off the sand skiff into the fold, runs out of the fold, and then in like the next scene you see him like in Ketterdam, and you're just like, how the fuck did he get there? And then you're like, oh, and like the realization that it's two different timelines and like how everything builds like fits together, I thought was a really like good step-by-step reveal.
Mm-hmm. That was a thing. That was actually a pretty nice way of like repurposing Alexei's story, because he was a character in Shadow, like in the first book. However, he was just killed off by Volcra.
Yeah,
he just dies immediately.
He just dies immediately. Poor kid.
There's always one guy, you know.
It's so funny. Like, I felt like a juke, like they juked it out because it was like implied that he had feelings for Alina as well. So you're like, oh, is this going to be a love conflict? And then no, he's just dead.
Yeah.
I actually really like that they did that with like the crew in general, because like they had Alexei, and then they had the I can't remember her name because she died immediately, but the blonde girl who's like racist or something, and then like. But they spent all of that first episode like establishing them, and I was like, okay, so this is like this is the gang, I guess. This is the gang. And then by the end of the episode, they're all fucking dead.
Mm-hmm. Well, it was so brutal.
It was fucking insane. I couldn't tell what I was watching. I was like, is this fucking real? They're all fucking dead. Holy shit.
The same thing, Gabe. I was like, here comes the bully, the blonde bitch, and then she just dies. Yeah. I was like, oh, okay, never mind.
I really thought Mal was gonna die in that first episode, because I was just so like, wow, they just fucking killed all of they killed the whole gang in the first episode. Holy shit.
Yeah, that's the funny thing too, because like if I remember from the books, Mal was nearly like was attacked by a Volcra and was pretty much not brought to near death, but was really, really severely wounded. And that's what kind of kicked off Alina's powers, and how they kind of redo certain events from the main story to integrate not just the Crows, but like this new story that they're telling really works. Like for a book fan, it's kind of obvious to know like when the main story is the main story. But for new fans who don't know anything about the books, be it Shadow and Bone or Six of Crows, like that, like this story alone works really well with integrating all of these characters into its narrative. I think that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. I mean, like, I mean, going back to like the whole death thing in the first, I think well, because like it's not just the gang, because like the fucking Inferni dies too, and I was like, I think the thing that tripped me out the most was that like Netflix. I don't know if there's this probably isn't a universal experience, but Netflix has like those. You know how when you go on Netflix and you like hover over something and it plays like a little teaser clip.
Yeah, that's actually annoying.
Like what you're about to watch. I don't turn it off. I love that shit. With this series in specific, it's the fucking with Shadow and Bone. The fucking clip that they show is like is the scene where the Inferni is like telling people telling all the crew about all that shit, about like what they go into, what the plan is with the fold. She's giving them instructions. She's giving orders and shit, and she's like giving a cool little speech, and I was like, oh wow, this lady's so cool. I bet she's a really cool character who's like in the rest of the series and is very, very cool and stoic for all of it. And then I watched the episode and she's fucking dead.
That's hilarious.
And then the fucking blonde bully girl's dead, and then fucking Alexei's dead, and when Mal gets fucking gutted by a Volcra, I was like, oh, I would totally believe that the love interest is fucking dead because everyone else is. Also, I would totally believe that, and then he lives, and I was like,
and he sucks from there on out.
Wow. Okay.
Oh my god.
Wait, we're not doing this yet. We are not doing this yet.
Later, we'll get to simp bashing later. But I
will give Netflix this: they did make him more likable in the show than in the book. In the book, while I was reading it, I I was like, why are you so dumb? And in the show, I'm like, you're not as dumb as I thought you were.
To be fair,
in
the first book, he's basically a non-character for most of it. So
yeah.
So I was like, more.
Is that? Sorry, Gabe. Go ahead.
What I was gonna say was like it was like from that it was like sort of a Game of Thrones thing. The show isn't as bloody or violent as Game of Thrones, but it had that same effect where I was like from that first episode I was just like, okay, so nothing's off the table anymore. The characters will just fucking die. It doesn't fucking matter if they fit into a trope slot. They'll just fucking die, I guess. Sweet. Well, it never really got to that level ever again. But for the whole rest of the series, I was like, this character could just fucking die. Like right now, I've now reached the point where it's like a character could just die. And I know it can happen. So I had like a lot of tension for the rest of the series after that because I was just like, Leigh Bardugo ain't fucking around. She'll fucking care.
Good that way, right?
I don't know about the books. I do wish that they go down that bloody path for the show. But the one part that really tripped me out, because I sort of kind of I don't know what I was expecting to fall, but the part, remember when they're like transferring Alina and they get attacked by those the what are they called, the F guys, the fall, whatever. So I was like, oh, they got guns and arrows and shit, but we got magics because we're Grishas, and the guy gets shot in the fucking head, and I was like, oh my god, they got bulletproof keftas, but that's not gonna help if you get shot in the back of the head. That part I was like, this is cool, because even though they got magic and they think they're badass, they still can get just murdered by these Fury guys. I thought that was sick. I wish the show was a bit. I'll talk about it later, but it was all right.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I guess you know what? Fuck it. We'll do this now. Jessica, do you want to talk about fucking Mal now? That'll be your key moment if you want to do that. We can all talk about Mal.
Okay, actually, I do want to talk about Kaz first, because even though I do love Freddie and the way he plays Kaz, I feel like I've seen the first 6 episodes now, but I feel like the first season as a whole focuses a lot more on Alina, which is fine, because that's, they're focusing on that storyline, so that's fine. But I feel like her character and then like the characters surrounding her were all a lot more like fleshed out than the Crows were, because the Crows are like super, super complex characters. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like with Kaz, they were kind of missing. For anyone who's read the books, Kaz is hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
He's also ridiculous.
I actually wanted to talk about that too, and I think talking about Kaz's character, like he from the books feels the most different to me, because like Leigh Bardugo really expresses the name Dirty Hands for a reason. Like from what I remember of Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom, Kaz does not fuck around whatsoever.
There's a scene in one of the books where he plucks a dude's eye out of his head or something. Mm-hmm. That scene still haunts me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Kaz really does
he's fucking real back.
Kaz in the books is like ridiculous, and like
holy shit.
He's like
literally
really
the first time we see him shoot. He literally shoots one of his own crew in the gut, like immediately. That's one of the first introductions we get of him. Is him and his crew, and then he shoots one of them in the gut and lets them just squirm there and like torture him. And she's like, "Fuck you."
Yeah,
that's dirty hands. But that's how we get him.
He's also hilarious, right? And I feel like in the show they really got like the calculating. He's always the guy with the plan, as long as you give him the right amount of money. But I feel like they were missing, like they gave all the humor to Jesper, when in reality all of them are fucking idiots. So I hope that like in the second season that they kind of like expand a bit more on specifically Kaz, but on the Crows in general, because they are like such a strange group of human beings to like exist together. And like I feel like they could have a lot of fun with Kaz in the show. Mm-hmm. Also, one of my problems.
Feelings.
Yeah, one of my
Started.
He's like, I need you with me, Inej. I'm like, well, fuck. What is it? Whoa.
He has it so bad from the start.
I know.
So great.
Subtle. This was too funny.
I saw this post on the internet the other day, and it was like Kaz, like outwardly, oh, money, I want all of the money. As long as you give me money, I'm good. And then Kaz inwardly, and it's just Inej, heart eyes. And I was like,
I mean, who can blame him though? She's that cool.
Yeah.
Well, the actor is so funny because he'll say something like emotional to Inej, and he'll have that dead, serious face staring at her.
Yeah.
And so fucking funny.
Freddie Carter was a wonderful
me.
casting choice for
Yeah.
Kaz. Like really.
I love him.
I'm very pleased with the casting for Kaz. I was really, really worried when Netflix took it because they are notorious for ruining my favorite broody boys of fiction. And I was like, it did a good job for this one, which I'm very happy about.
Yeah.
I like that he was pretty, but he's not like, I don't know, he's not like Ben Barnes pretty. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? I've been trying to figure
he's
out
not like Hollywood
Yeah.
pretty. He's like YA fiction pretty. You know?
I've been trying to figure out a way to like word that since I started watching it. But he's a handsome boy, like would bang, but he's a little weird looking, and I like that he's
like. Just like Spencer Reid from Criminal Minds, like 10 out of 10 would bang, but he is a weird-looking human being.
Yeah.
So you're kind of like, what?
Yeah, it's awesome. He's kind of like, I don't know. He's kind of off. He's not like a supermodel. I think that's
he's not conventionally attractive is the word you're looking for.
That is the word I'm looking for. I was trying to avoid that because he is kind of conventionally attractive, but not like super conventionally attractive.
Though, if you want to attract more people, have Kaz be like the Kaz from the books. Like, have him be hilarious and have him be completely unhinged, and he does not fuck around with people. Because if anything, he'll attract the kind of people that are into serial killers.
Oh my god!
Honestly, Kaz is literally in the books. His backstory is like the most tragic I think I've ever read about.
Did they explain
a series of books.
Because I didn't get it for the show. Did they explain the book?
No, they haven't explained it at all yet. But there was one scene so far.
Scene with Zoya, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The scene with she was. Oh wait, no,
you haven't gone that far yet. Never mind, that's in the last episode.
No, the scene where Pekka Rollins is coming in and like his men like push Kaz to the ground and they keep one of their hands on him. I was like, guys, Kaz does not tolerate being touched at all. No one touches Kaz because like he's super traumatic about it.
I can't wait for Kaz to.
I was like, I'm so angry that you did this because now it doesn't make sense. Like, if you bring it up in later episodes, people will be like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I was like, please don't do that.
Yeah.
No, yeah, but there's a scene in the last episode where like Zoya's like, oh, I need to go see like my family who are dead, and Kaz is like, oh, if you do that, it'll haunt you for the rest of your life. And I was like, boy.
He's seen some shit.
He's seen some shit.
He's seen all the shit. Like, imagine all the shit you could see and then add it to that.
Yeah. I can imagine a lot.
It's also awkward because I like the Crows more than Alina sometimes.
Absolutely.
A lot of people.
Everyone likes the Crows better than Alina.
Yeah.
Like, I like
someone who said they like Alina more than the Crows. I would punch them in the crotch.
Yo, straight up, are the Crows? They're not for the main story, right? It's Alina and Mel. They're the main story.
Are they the main story?
Alina, Mal, Zoya, Genya.
Okay. Because
that group.
Again, I'm just a TV show guy, but there was little things that kind of bug me that I think it was Netflix rushing it because it was a TV show. Because 8 episodes are short. I wish they went up to 10. But the part where the Taylor girl's like, Alina, don't go to powerful men. Next scene, I'm with the powerful general. I'm like, what the fuck? And she's like, oh, you're so mysterious. And he's like, yeah, you're the light girl. I'm the shadow guy. And I'm like, what is this? Like their kind of relationship sort of like felt rushed to me. The relationship was cool.
It's rushed in the books too, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Actually,
let's talk about
It's
Genya
not
for a
meant
minute.
to be an actual relationship. It's
Because
meant
it's
to
not.
be.
He's manipulating her.
He's a bad guy.
Yeah.
I was okay with it being like it's like they kiss once and then they make out. They're about to fuck. Baghra comes in and she's like, "No, don't do that. He's super evil." And then he's like the bad guy, and then it's done with. Because I was really glad for that because I did not want to have like a fucking Raylo situation happening where she's like she has like conflicted feelings of like love towards the obvious bad guy. I love how like on board she was with him being the bad guy like right away. I was very pleased with that.
I think they did a good job of like showing her like putting the pieces together. Because like Baghra, like this is how it is in the book too, is pretty similar. It's like, you know, the first time they kiss in the book, Alina's like asking questions and kind of poking and prodding, and then the Darkling kisses her out of nowhere and it's like, oh, I shouldn't have done that, and then they leave, and then it keeps kind of happening from there. And then again, it's something that I didn't even notice on my second read through until it was pointed out later. But it's like he literally does it when she starts asking questions to distract her, and then she becomes distracted thinking about like her future with that instead of, you know, who she's supposed to be as the sun summoner, and she starts focusing on him instead of like the things she's like her training and stuff. It's like it's and then she notices it later and is like, yeah, okay, he's a dickhead. He was manipulating me. I see it now.
Can I have Alina Starkov? The Darkling is a dickhead on a t-shirt. that is the best description. Like as a villain, he's not like super evil. Like he does a lot of bad stuff, but compared to the Crows, he's like he's not horrible.
Yeah.
But like
I don't think he's kind of worse than the Crows. That's like, just me.
Yeah, he's just such a dick though. Like he's just such a bad dude.
He's got like such a superiority. He's got such a superiority complex. Like he really thinks he's better than everyone, and like he sees Alina and goes, she's my only equal. I'm going to have her. And like, you know, he has all these, I don't remember how much of this there was in the show, but like in the book, he's constantly being like, oh, we are equals, you know, she'll forgive me eventually, blah, blah, blah. And he's like so convinced that they're going to like end up living together forever. It's, that's just who he is.
He's like,
his manipulation,
he's like that kid in like gym class who tries way too hard because he thinks he's really, really awesome, but he's only slightly better than everyone else. Yeah. That's the Darkling in the books. He's like, oh, I'm so good. I'm the Shadow Summoner. You know, I'm the Darkling and whatever. And this is Alina and she's going to love me. And then Alina's like, no. And he's like, but why?
Yeah.
But I do think that both the show and the book do a good job of like showing like he's so much like, I don't think this was covered super, super well in the show, but like he's like hundreds of years old, right?
Oh yeah.
And, I think where you're like,
did that well. They have like one line in the show that really sold that because like when it was like the flashback sequence with I don't remember her name, his old healer girlfriend, and like she was like if I do such and such, I can live for 100 years. And he's like, wow, that seems like a long time to you. Fucking weak. Get good. I'm paraphrasing a little bit.
He's like, guys, green smoothies are the way to live for 1,000 years.
100 years? That's nothing to me.
She did say 100 years specifically, and he said that seems like a long time to you, doesn't it? But like, I do think that it's well established that he's had so much time to figure out how to manipulate someone like Alina, because you know Alina's like, I don't even know how old she's, like in her early 20s, I think.
She's 17, 18.
Yeah, 17, 18.
I think she's a little older in the show, which I'm grateful for because is almost 40.
They always are anyway.
That was my other thing. So like when he has that scene where he's confronting Mal and like Mal is like he's like they're having their little stare down over who's gonna hook up with Alina, and like the Darkling is like, you're a child to Mal, and internally I'm like, so is she, you fucking creep.
No, bro.
Okay, wait.
80 years old. You're immortal.
See, here's the thing.
Possibility that she can keep going, so it's basically child grooming.
creepy.
He's literally a groomer. I didn't even think about that. He's literally fucking grooming.
Yeah, that's what I thought was fucked with his mom.
He's
Was like,
literally fucking. I'm gonna wait until you're on. He's literally fucking grooming.
Oh my god. Okay. See, here's the thing about that interaction too. Like as Gabe, as you were talking about like how there was like this whole thing of like, oh, who's gonna date Alina, Mal or the Darkling? In the book, it was a lot more evident that was happening because in that one scene where or at the winter party where Alina is showing off her powers and shit, I think at some points they kind of run off and they like Alina and the Darkling run off and they kiss as they do in the show, but Mal walks into that. Or like
he doesn't.
Oh no!
Yeah,
no.
He doesn't walk into the kissing. He walks into the. I don't know. He just walks in, and that
he saw her display like with the magic and display, and then later when they're talking, he's like, "Oh, I saw the way he looked at you."
Okay, well then I'm wrong.
That'd be funny if he walked in. That'd be hilarious.
My bad. I got it wrong. So anyway, it had been more evident that there was some kind of like love triangle tension there, which I fucking hate. I can't stand that, as you guys probably understand. But like later in the show, what I applaud is that like as a personal applause is like Alina was kind of mentioning how like, oh, I've done things that I regret, and like that's kind of one of those is kind of obviously mentioning how she kissed the Darkling, and Mal just kind of waves it off without like with the reason of like, you know, it doesn't matter what you did, you're safe, I'm going to protect you now. That is great characterization for Mal as like within the show, because it's like clearly, you know, he cares more about Alina than what she's done, and that is great. I really enjoy that. And also, I don't want to deal with the fucking love triangle, because that's what I was kind of getting at from the books. So thank God it was mostly scrapped. Like there obviously still is tension between. I hate this. Like there obviously still is tension between the three of them, but not as much as I would have wanted.
I don't want to spoil anything, but in the second book, there is a third love interest introduced.
Are you? Oh my God.
I know about this boy. I've heard things about this boy. We can spoil a little.
Have we met him in the show?
Nikolai.
No.
Oh.
No.
It's fucking Nikolai, isn't it?
It's Nikolai.
Yeah.
Of course it's Nikolai.
Who would not fall in love with Nikolai? Like, who would you rather have? Like a 1,000-year-old Darkling or Nikolai Laptop?
For everyone listening, I'm so sorry.
Hey, for everyone listening, take a shot.
This is the most authentic that we are on this podcast.
Who the hell is Nikolai? I can't find him. Fuck, I'm trying to take a picture of him.
Okay, my thing is though, I actually don't hate the love triangle in this series, because I feel like I actually understand like what all the men, as it were, are after in Alina. You know, like Mal is her childhood friend. He's actually in love with her, you know, and he just wants her to be happy. You know, the Darkling wants her for power. Nikolai also kind of wants her for power. But like I feel like I understand like the reasons behind it, and it doesn't feel, and like I mean from the first book I knew who Alina was going to end up with, and I was right. So it doesn't feel like as stupid a love triangle or love whatever shape that is as it would in other stories.
Love rhombus.
It's not really a rhombus though. It's like a circle with 3 spikes sticking out of it.
It's a love isosceles.
I don't really
COVID-19 thing.
I don't care about this stuff, but it all felt like genuine, and I don't know, it worked for me. I don't really care if there's like multiple romances in the show. I'm like, can we just get on, please? But everything worked so well.
They didn't do go too hard with the romance in the show. Like, you know, Mal and Alina didn't kiss, which they did in the book. Like at the end,
they should have done it.
Yeah.
Every time they were looking at each other, I was like, "Just fucking kiss already, you stupid bastard!"
Like, I was definitely rooting for Mal and Alina more in the show than I remembered rooting for them in the book.
Yeah, and the show is much better. In the book, it's like painful.
Yeah.
I was talking to Dean about this because I figured out what I think it is, and it's in the show because it's not limited to Alina's first person perspective. We actually get to see Mal, and like you have like the letters and the flashback scenes and all that.
I love all that shit.
Those 2 episodes were like the first one where Alina's narrating letters throughout it, and the second one where Mal's narrating letters throughout it, and you can kind of like see the journey of that. And then at the end, when Alina's like, "Erase my scar," that scene breaks my heart.
Oh,
But
I was like, I was sitting there and I was like, "Get it, girl, yes."
she's like,
I really will not take this Melina slander.
I was like,
Are we gonna get, we've been teasing this for
How
like
dare
an hour.
you
Are
come
we gonna
back
get
and
into the-
how dare
are we gonna
this
get
be
into
the
the-
episode to come
this
back
is
and
what-
slander
this
my
is-
favorite relationship?
This is what I'm trying to transition into, Gabe. Chill. But
God
like
bless.
the thing is because the show has Mal's perspective in it, and we can actually see, you know, the things he's doing to try and get to Alina. It works a lot better than it did in the book, because in the book, Mal is absent for half of the book. He's not there,
that sounds so
and then he
dumb.
just shows up at the end, and then they fight, and then they make up, and then they
so
run away
angry.
together.
I love all the Mal scenes in the book. The
Yeah.
only thing
The book.
Sorry, in the show. In one little pet peeve I had in the scene, the Mal episodes when he's hunting the deer with those 2 other guys, and they've been hunting for like a couple of days. Like there's scenes of them like having, you know, walking along and camping and shit. And then near the last episode, when he's with Alina and they mysteriously teleport to the deer, and I was like, wait, how the fuck did they like fast travel or some shit? Because isn't it this up to the north? And it took them several days to get there and several days to get back to the palace.
Well,
And
he was
No,
tracking.
no,
You know,
no,
that kind of
Yeah.
confused me.
it's this is one of my issues that I had with the show, is that I felt like all the time, like the time it took to travel between places was just like completely condensed. But like if you have the map, which I do in front of me right now, after when she gets out of the carriage, she's in a city called Riavost, I don't know how to pronounce it, which is basically right underneath the Petrozoy Mountains.
Yeah.
And like right beside the region called Sabea, which is where the deer is.
Yeah.
And so like they are like right there, like they are right where the
Oh.
deer actually was. It came like quite a bit further south afterwards, but like it's because they condensed the time so much that because like in the book they were tracking the deer. Mal and Alina were tracking the deer for like at least a week, maybe
Okay.
more.
I brushed it off as Netflix, but
Yeah, but it's just
like
because
that.
they condensed the time between
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
traveling
Just
so much.
8 episodes
I mean,
is
it's
so
also like
short.
he's tracking the stag for like all of episode 4, and it was like I don't know. It made sense to me. It's like he's tracking the stag for that whole episode, so it's like he's got to like.
But then I'm like, what did
They're-
the deer move? Like, it wouldn't be the same spot when he's Alina as the 2 guys.
No. It
you know?
moved.
It moves.
Oh, okay.
Well,
he-
when he found it with Mikhail and Dubrov, they were up in like Fjorda. They were in the country
Yeah.
to the north.
Oh, yeah,
And
so
then
she
it-
came south, the deer. Okay, that makes
And
sense.
then the deer, it's a
Yeah, yeah.
stag. It came
Oh.
south. Yes.
It took like I mean, it made sense. It took several days because like half the days were spent like looking for deer poop.
Yeah,
And,
that was
like, trying to find like
It's like, you want half? Oh, we'll sell it.
trying to find like
God.
markings and stuff, and like trying to figure out what this deer is. The second time they went to get the deer, it made sense to me that they went there so quickly because like they know where they're going at that point. They were like, I don't have
Yeah.
to spend
Yeah.
days searching snow for deer poop and like because I know where we're going, so we can just
That
make
makes
a beeline
sense.
towards where I
That's
found it.
That is also true.
Yeah, I'll give props to this sequence actually for expanding the relationship that they had, or that Mal has with Dubrov and Mikhail, because I kind of get that, like in the books. So in the books, Mikhail and Dubrov are killed off, as they are similarly in the show, but because it was focused entirely on Alina's perspective, like Alex said, you don't figure that out until Mal gets reintroduced. But actually watching the relationship played out through the show, and not just that, but like actually spending significant time with these characters made me invest in their death a lot more, because as a book person, you kind of expect this thing to happen. Like you have the names of these characters. They're not just nameless characters. They're supposed to be Mal's they're supposed to be Mal's comrades and friends. And having them just in the book suddenly get killed off like how many chapters later without any kind of investment in them whatsoever was kind of I didn't really enjoy that in the book. I'm happy that they expanded on the relationship in the show.
I literally just opened the book to like the scene where Mal tells Alina that they're killed off. It's page 290 in my book, and we haven't seen them since like chapter 2.
Holy fuck.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I thought it was sad. Their book, like as Dean said, because I spent so much with them since the first episode, to see them die was sad. And then the part where the Darkling attacks Mal and the snake. I thought Mal was gonna fucking die there. I was like, dude, Douglas just gonna fucking off him. But I was like, oh,
Spoiler alert.
Survive.
Spoiler alert, Mal's not gonna die. He's safe.
Yeah, you know, which I was like, okay, whatever. It was a cool scene though, overall.
Okay, so I think at this point we've completely abandoned structure. So let's talk about something else.
Are we not going to talk about why we hate Mal in the books?
You promised me.
I wanted to, but like, where the hell did that go?
He's
Go
okay.
The conversation flow. Let's do it.
Explain it.
Is someone supposed to?
Jessica, the floor is yours. Come on,
Jessica, go. I'm not
All
the host.
so-
This isn't a podcast anymore. It's literally just friends talking
this
about the
isn't
fucking
Dean's
show.
show. Hijacking it. Fuck you. Mute me.
Mid-episode segment, we're going to be talking about our favorite characters from Shadow and Bone. My favorite character from the book and still in the show is Inej. I love her. She was amazingly portrayed, and just everything that I wanted from Inej in the live-action adaptation, I got from the show.
My favorite character in Shadow and Bone, like the first trilogy, is Nikolai, and he's not in the show yet. But my favorite character in in Six of Crows is Jesper, and By King. He was perfect, charming, flirtatious, everything I wanted. He was
Horrible at
fantastic.
gambling.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was perfect. The crows were all perfect, but he was very perfect.
I haven't read the books, so I don't have a favorite character strictly from the books, but my favorite character from the show was definitely Kaz. I love this fucking dude so much. I loved literally every time he was on screen, I was fucking elated. He's like, I love that he's not like a bad boy necessarily, but he's a little odd. He's a little freaky. I fucking love him. He's such an asshole.
Oh my god, he is.
Oh yeah, big
He's
asshole.
great.
Yeah,
He's awesome. I love the crows.
I love his fucking cane. I love his fucking drip.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I love everything about this man.
Oh, honestly, I'm the same as Alex. I love Nikolai in the Shadow and Bone trilogy, and I love Jesper in the show so much. Granted, I am in love with the way that they're portraying Nina so far. She's quite a babe.
I love Nina.
Yes.
I love everyone.
Fuck, I also like Kaz. The actor, I only ever see the show, but fuck, the actor was amazing. And he did that role so well. The character himself, like, he had that look on his face that he's thinking a million things at once, and he's just a fucking, I don't want to say a crime lord, but he was a badass. And the cane was hilarious, the drip. I just love how he fucking steals someone's clothes and he just starts, like, walking without the cane as he's wearing someone else's fucking outfit. It was too good.
This might be obvious, but my favorite character in the books and the TV show is Kaz.
All
Kaz
right.
breaking my heart, Brecker.
Since we're all repping crows, I'd also like to shout out to Genya, who also owns my heart.
Oh yeah, she was great in the
Love
books. I remember her being like the first character where I was like, holy shit, yes.
Shout
Yeah,
out to
exactly.
David.
And oh, my poor little awkward David. He's so cute.
I love them.
They're just so awkward. All right, okay. So in the books, what I remember my first time reading the books, because I read them once and then I reread them like a year or two after I originally read them, and I remember not liking Mal in like both times I read the series because I felt like he was just super whiny. Like he was that guy that was like, oh my god, you're moving on with your life and I feel like I'm not a part of it. Like I want to be, but I don't like what you're doing.
Like that a bit. The show
He
is at
sounded
first.
like in the books, he was like super whiny. He was like, Alina, pay attention to me, love me. And Alina was like, I'm busy trying to save the world, you idiot. And he was like, fine. And I was like,
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm rereading Siege and Storm right now, and like there's this whole part where Alina's like, okay, I want to go back to Ravka and like, you know, change things, and he's like, and what if I don't want to do that? Did you ever think of that, huh? And I'm just like, buddy,
Oh my god.
buddy, I need you to just like think about
like,
someone
calm
other
down.
than yourself for a second, maybe.
yeah, like he
Yeah.
was super selfish and he was always like, Alina, I love you. And I was like, she's literally trying to do some cool ass shit. And you're like, no, because I don't want to.
Okay, that's
Can we do
fair
it
enough.
after I destroy this giant wall of darkness? How about that?
I'm really. I know we're not talking about season 2 yet, but I really hope in season 2 when they get into Siege and Storm plot that they kind of deal with that a little bit better, because it's like, you know, it's one thing for Mal to want to have his own life and have his own wants and desires and shit, and it's another for him to be like, well, I understand that you're trying to, you know, stop the Darkling and get rid of the Fold and stop the whole world from falling into war and shit, but what if I just like don't want to do that with you? What if I just like left? Because that's
and he
really
makes it seem
annoying.
like it's a big deal that he would leave. He's like, Alina, I'm gonna leave. And I'm like, you're so useless. What are you doing?
Like, what?
Like, you haven't done anything. You hunted a deer for like 200 pages. Congrats, dude. Like,
I mean, he is important to the plot, but we don't really know that at that point. So
Yeah. I think because now the show is fleshing out Mal's perspective a lot more, maybe that'll give more people to invest in him. At least that's what I'm imagining.
yeah, in the show, he's a lot easier to handle in the show. Like, I was very pleasantly surprised that they
I buy
kind
the
of
relationship
expanded on his.
Yeah, I buy the Alina and Mal's relationship so much more in the show too. Like, since we're talking about show to book adaptations, I wanted to talk about like my opinions on Alina as a character as well. And like when I started reading Shadow and Bone again, I was like, I forgot how like bitchy and judgmental Alina is a lot of the time. Like she fucking hates Zoya, she hates Nadia and Marie, she hates pretty much everyone that's not Mal, Genya, or the Darkling for a little bit. And like, you know, she's like in the first little bit, she's always going off at Mal for like, you know, having flings with other women and stuff, and she's so like pissed about it. And I'm like, girl, chill. He doesn't know you like him. So if you want him to not like run around with other women, you should maybe say something instead of just bitching at the women that he chooses to flirt with. Maybe.
Yeah, in the books, I remember Alina in the first book being like this super like bitchy, judgmental, like whiny person. She was like, oh, like I'm the sun summoner, but not in like a cool like, oh, shit, you know, like I gotta go save the world. Fuck, I wanted to stay home and eat Fruit Loops and like
she's just
watch Disney movies. She's just like, oh my god, this is so inconvenient. I was busy making maps, and me and Mal were gonna fall in love, and I'm like, you get to do this cool shit now, and she's like, no.
Which like
what?
I think it's interesting for her to have like, you know, to not be necessarily interested in her powers and have to like come to accept them or whatever. But she's so whiny, and I really hate the trope in YA novels where like the female protagonist hates all other women.
I can't deal with that. Like in the books, it was hard to read the first book, like reread the first book, because Mal was so like, oh my god, like I'm the greatest human being ever for Alina, and we're gonna like.
He also like, you know, it's
like,
the first few chapters where she's constantly like, oh Mal, I have such a crush on him, and then he's like running around flirting with other girls, and she's like, ugh, that woman's so annoying. I can't believe he's flirting with her instead of me. Except he wouldn't flirt with me because I'm so ugly.
And this is in the book?
Girl.
Fuck, that is
Just
annoying.
paraphrased.
Very paraphrased.
That's my other issue, is that like the books are so focused on how ugly Alina is, and I'm like,
what?
Yeah,
what the hell?
I was thinking.
Yeah, the contrast her being like not using power though.
It has a reason, but it's still just like brought up constantly, where like if she doesn't use her power for a little bit, basically she gets really tired, she does it, like she loses her appetite, her hair loses all its color, that kind of stuff, which they kind of played with a little bit in the show, but not too much, which I'm fine with because I didn't like this in the book, but like in the book it's very much like she's always going on about how her hair is stringy. There's like a part in the first chapter of the second book too, where she hasn't been using her power for a while, and like, you know, some woman is like flirting with Mal, and then Mal sees Alina and like pulls her into a hug, and like the women are like, oh, why is someone like him with someone like her? And like it's just in your face at all times, and I'm like, I don't care that Alina's supposed to be ugly. Like, why is this important?
Yeah, I think it was supposed to be like, because in the show they mention, I'm glad that they mentioned it because it like adds to her character. They mentioned that she's like part Shu, and that's like
I was gonna ask
something you want to fucking be in this world, because it's like they're like a group of people that's like marginalized. So I think her being like, oh my god, like I'm so ugly was supposed to be like an internalization of that, but it was a bit much.
She wasn't Shu in the books though.
She wasn't? What the fuck?
He was not. No.
What is she? Was she Ravkan?
She's just Ravkan.
What the fuck? That's weird.
That was a change in the show. They cast an actor of color to play her.
That's kind of cringy.
Interesting.
I thought like, because there's that scene with the Darkling, which she's like, you don't know what it's like to be discriminated as a shoho or whatever, and he's like, you don't know what it's like to be discriminated because I'm a fucking Grisha. So I thought she's going to be like the character that brings like world peace, and she's a Grisha and a shoho. All these nations are at war with each other. There's a lot of races. Shu, whatever they're called. I thought that's what I was
like 17 times.
I was like, that's what I thought it was leading. And also I was eating as I was watching episodes, so maybe my loud ass chewing omitted some of the dialogue.
If we give you the same food that you ate during the episode, would you better remember?
I should like watch it sometime because they're English accents, which I love. I don't know what the fuck they're talking about. I have to like go back. I'm like,
there's
what are they
English
saying?
Accents.
But it's cool. I love it.
Yeah.
It only bothers me a little bit when all fantasy has to have English accents.
It's sort of retroactively bothering me now that I know it's supposed to be Russia. I wish they had Russian accents.
That'd be nice,
some of them do. That's the weird part.
Yeah, it's like all the main
Kirians do.
All the main characters
you have a more British accent depending on how important you are.
Yeah, like the Darkling is there, like, oh yes, good day, madam, thank you. And then
for those
Al's just
listening,
over there, like, why, mate?
Yeah, that was a little weird. It's like how he's like, it was like, oh my heart render, I need you to I go get Nina or some shit, and he's like, yes, Mr. Darkling, I will go collect the Nina for you. Thank you, my
like,
good.
Where are you?
Wait, Fedor didn't have a fucking accent. Like he didn't have an English accent though.
I don't remember which character it was, but I know someone had an accent. Fedor had an accent, right?
Fedor had an accent, not an English accent, but an accent, which was nice.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like Fedor had like, that's what I'm saying. Fedor had like a different accent.
I must have misinterpreted.
He had a crazy Russian one, that Fedor guy. Can we talk about those? I love those two. I like that whole scene with them. Yeah, the only one beef I had was, I like the slowly they start to like get along with each other. The only part that kind of bugged me was near the end, and I think it was a Netflix edition where it was like, yeah, hey slavers, I'll sell him as a slave. I'm like, is this the only excuse you can come up with, lady, right now? Like, I get it, there's the Grecians on one side, and then there's those slaves. She's like, I'll fucking sell you that guy as a slave.
I don't remember the details of Nina and Matthias in the, like, how that happened in the book, but I do know that part of their backstory was in one of the Six of Crow books. But it's been too long since I've read them.
It's in one of the books. They talk about how they met when he was like a slaver or something, and
he was a slaver, and they captured because she's a hardrender, and they're gonna go execute her in his country. And then when they get together, they're like chilling at like they're getting brunch or some shit. And then these other racist slavers come in, and they're like, "Is this Grisha fucking like?" Because the Grishas, the palace, are looking for this hardrender, right? And then these like slavers come up, they're like, "Oh, we're gonna have some trouble." So you got like the racists on one side, you got the government fucking Greece on the other side, and she's like, "I'll go with the slavers because I don't want to go back to the
None of them are slavers.
They're not slavers.
None of them are slavers. It's just the Driscoll and the
Driscolla are witch hunters. They hunt down the Grisha.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the men who he yells at, they're just like regular Ketterdam merch traders, I think.
They're merchants. And he was like looking for
slavers. They were talking about how capturing slavers gets you a lot of money. So Nina's like, oh shit, I can say that he's a slaver and get him captured so that my Grisha don't kill him.
That was not
Yeah.
a book edition. That was not a show edition. That was like in the book.
in
That's
the
like their
book.
canon
Oh.
backstory.
Because I'm like, what are they gonna do? Because she's like chilling with the crows, and she's like, "You guys need a hard render." I'm like, "Bro, you just sold that guy to a bunch of slavers. Are you gonna just leave him?" I'm pretty sure not.
She's not.
She's
They're
gonna
prisoners.
get
They're
him
not
out.
slavers.
Yeah, I
No,
know.
they're not slavers.
She sees Kaz and the crows as a way to like deal with the mistake that she made, and or you can argue if it was a mistake or not, but she's seeing that as like an opportunity to help Matthias.
Who's being a stupid asshole in the cell.
The girl.
I hate
her-
that whole arc.
That's just who he is.
Yeah,
like
she's gonna fit
And
so
that
well
is
with the
who
crows.
Matthias is
Yeah.
as a person.
I fucking
Yeah.
love her. She's gonna be
Yeah.
so good with the crows.
I'm sure Nina is like a real. I mean, I've heard a lot of good stuff about Nina from book readers.
great.
So I'm sure
I
Nina
love Nina, dude.
has like some really winning moments later. I hated that arc in the show. That was like every time I went back to it, like Nina and Matthias, like in the boat or in the ice place where it's cold, and I was just like, is this gonna fucking connect to the story at any point?
I know.
It does.
I would say that like it kind of annoyed me actually because
That's
I
honestly
really
fair.
Mhm.
it's like I really wanted it to be sooner because it was really sad seeing that Nina was already like a Gracia and part of the palace and she hadn't been captured yet, and then that was part of that story. I was like, no, because I want her to be part of the crows already because she's great. She's from the beginning. She's part of the crows in the Six of Crows books.
Right.
Yeah, so
He was also
the backstory, like it makes sense why they did this here. And like as a fan of the
For
books,
sure.
when Nina showed up, I was like, oh, Nina, oh, Matthias, oh, we're doing this, okay.
Yeah,
and I can
yeah.
understand if you haven't read the
for
books
sure.
why that would be frustrating.
Yeah, I was just very like it was right up until the last scene when like she's on the boat and then the crows show up on the boat, and I was like, oh, the connection, okay, great. But like anytime before that, I was like, when is this gonna fucking tie into the actual story? Fucking. I don't like either of these. I don't like. I didn't like the relationship.
Yeah.
I was just like, I really love the show, and I'm not going to talk shit on the show. That was a low point for me. Just
Really?
like anytime I went back to their romance, and they were just like, oh, and now we're cold. Oh, guess what? I guess we're gonna have to not fuck, but get super close.
Yeah, like to be
it's fine, but I kind of wish I did
fuck at that point. For God's sake,
I did like when they started talking about the differences between like his country and hers. So it's kind of weird they went off of like misogyny and patriarchy and shit. When I was like, okay, it all fit. I like when they were talking about all that.
It's that enemies to lovers kind of build.
It was like it done a really good job of just like not really make a big deal. I was just like, oh, cool. So women are in the army in this universe. Cool. They're not making a big deal about it. Awesome.
This is so
and then like
funny
they have the
though.
whole thing where Matthias is like, in my country, women are traditional, and I was like,
That's so funny. That made me laugh. She's like, you don't like a strong woman? Now huddle with me so I keep you warm. And he's like, okay.
It's literally their relationship. Matthias is like, yeah, I don't like strong women. Women are supposed to be like homemakers, like that kind of thing. And then Nina's like, bitch, do you want to cuddle or not? And Matthias is like, yeah.
Okay, I hate women, but I cuddle. I like cuddle.
Yeah.
That's his entire political system. Hate women, love cuddle.
I mean, it is cold where he's from, so
it is cold. Yeah. Love cuddle and cold.
He comes back and he's like, we gotta change women comrades, and they're all like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Listen, there's a reason Matthias is my least favorite member of the Crows.
Yeah.
It's because he's
he joins the Crows. Hell yeah! I wanted to be. Is he gonna be racist to Inej? It's like, whoa, the cat's like, settle down here, buddy, settle down here.
No. I don't think so. No.
I don't think he was. I think he just thinks they're all awful.
He's honest to God. He's like, you guys are terrible people. And Kaz is like, yeah, we know.
Kaz is terrible and lovable, but Matthias can be just downright unbearable.
Matthias is the lawful good character in a party of like neutrals.
Disgusting. I hate it. I hate lawful good.
The fuck.
I'm not gonna elaborate more.
He's always like, guys, maybe we shouldn't break in and steal this or murder this guy. And Kaz is like, how long have you been here? This is what we do.
Yeah. When did you become a saint, you fucking guy? You're the fuck up, Grishas.
But like, you see aspects of that character in the show too. Like, when the dude on the ship is like, "Hey, if this ship goes down, just kill them all," and he's like, "But he's like, you have to stand trial."
He was also feeding Nina and shit. So I see that now.
Yeah,
definitely is a lawful good guy. He started to doubt the systems of his country.
He's just kind of dumb.
Yeah,
Nina is too thick for him. That's my take.
That is a hot take.
It's a hot take, but it's valid.
It's valid.
Just Nina's fucking wonderful, and I think in retrospect, reflecting on the relationship developed in the books and in the show, they understand, but at the same time, it's like, wow, this dynamic really is interesting, isn't it? Because I can't wait till season 2 when if this was just Nina, I can't imagine like Matthias reacting to the rest of the crows, especially how they've been established here. It's like,
oh my god,
it's gonna be
for season 2. Okay, this is a character that I saw briefly and I fucking loved him, and I kind of wish they would like sort of not go away from the romance. The romance is fine and feels good, but I like the broad political system of this fantasy when they go to that guy and he's like, fuck East Ravka, we gotta be our own country. Hey, conductor, go kill that light girl. And he's like, yes,
he's super dead now.
Yeah,
he's
dead.
He's super dead.
He was also not in the books, I'm pretty sure.
Really? I would have loved if this geopolitical problem, we got the Darkling who wants to expand the fold, fucking kill everyone that's hunting down Grishas, or make his own Grisha country, and then you got the East Ravka, the West Ravka, the guys in the North. I love all that shit. I wish they went more into it, but I don't know where they're gonna go.
Well, I don't know if they can anymore.
Yeah, because the dude is dead. But actually, can we talk about the West Ravkan like separatists for a minute? Because I thought it was a really interesting thing that they added.
I wish they kept it. Fuck.
That's a new addition. Yeah.
It was a new addition. And it makes sense. Like it's something that I was like thinking about. I was like, yeah, why wasn't that in the book? Like that definitely sounds like something that would happen, especially because this wall has been up for hundreds of years. Like, how has there not been a separatist movement before this? And I kind of wish they had done something more with it in the show, because it did feel really like, you saw the dude once at the beginning when he was like doing his rally and he was, telling the conductor to kill Alina for him. And then like you saw him like one other time before, and then you saw him at the end when he died, and that was it. And I feel like they could have done more with that, and it could have been really interesting, but they didn't.
Mm-hmm. Fuck! Oh yeah, because the Darkling takes out that whole town. I was like, Jesus.
That's the other part. I thought that was like a much better reason for him to like take out
Novokibirsk, yeah.
Yo, real quick. So let me see if with that flashback about the Darkling. He's kind of bad that people are hunting Grishas, right? That's why he did because that was a cool plot twist where it's like he's the dark heretic, he's been alive since fucking forever, and his mom is like still alive, and I'm like, how are they both Darklings? So is their power genetic or hereditary or some shit, or like?
I think theirs is hereditary because like it's
only members of his bloodline.
Yeah, so it's him and his mom, and then their ancestors, and then if he ever had any children, which. Spoiler alert, doesn't happen.
Okay.
Because who would sleep with the Darkling? Let's be real here.
I'm going to say, there's probably no offsprings out there.
There's gotta be.
Oh yeah, he's been fooling around with women for like hundreds of years. There's definitely some out there.
I think it's the opposite. I think he doesn't know what sex is. That's my take.
He's a good Christian boy.
He's never made it past the kissing.
He doesn't even know.
Fuck, that's funny. Okay, here's another part as a show guy that kind of got confused about a little bit. They explained it well. So what's up with these animals? So the stag, so you eat them and it's like an amplifier to your power?
No. There's no eating.
Oh,
I actually did want to talk about this because this was something I thought was a really interesting change.
I liked it too.
About this now. Okay, so in the books, it's explained that there was this dude, Morozova, and he was like the bone something in the show. I don't remember what they called him.
He get create,
Wait, Morris.
Remember the
shit? Yeah, what is it called? The Bone something?
The Bone Smith. Bone Smith.
Yeah.
So this is, and yes, amplifiers. The amplifiers were so interesting. In the book, the amplifiers are kind of introduced as like just a thing anyone can have. Like Ivan, the one in Heartrender we meet at the beginning, who starts escorting Alina to the Little Palace. In the book, he has an amplifier that's like a I don't remember what it was. No, he had a necklace of some sort. And then it's a necklace, and then Marie, who is one of her like friends at the Little Palace, also has one in the book, and it's explained that the Darkling and Baghra are both like human amplifiers, so they can like touch someone and like make their magic stronger, but only when they're touching, which is kind of still in the show, but not explained as well. But in the show, and then in the book, the amplifiers are just something you wear. So like, you know, the antlers get turned into like a collar that she wears.
I couldn't fucking look at her at that. That makeup was like amazing, and I was
let's fucking talk about the collars.
That's what
Jesus
I'm talking
Christ.
about. So, and then in the show, what they changed it to is that they have to like put the amplifier in their body.
So wait, sorry. It's like a necklace in the book or a crown or something.
It's just the necklace
like
in the book.
necklace.
Oh, okay.
It's a collar, but it's not like in her skin. It's just like something she wears.
Fuck! And the show is disgusting.
When that happened in the show, I fucking lost my mind. I was like, I texted Dean about it. I did, without like spoiling anything, I texted my other friends. I was like, holy fuck, this collar. It's so disturbing and it looks so cool.
It is so fucking cool.
I was like, Jesus Christ. And he grabs the horn. He's like, I control you. I'm like, what the fuck, bro? You're like ripping her shoulders. Ew.
Yeah. That change to the amplifiers I thought was really cool. And like it was mentioned at some point that like they have to like put it in their bodies for it to work. And then at one point Baghra said it is like a barbaric practice or something, which is completely different than it was in the book.
Mm-hmm.
And then
wondering if they made it like that just so that like so it would translate to television better, because if you just have something that like the character wears or something, then people who haven't read the book might not fully be able to like get that, because it's not really something you can like see.
That's
I think maybe they made it like that so it would be more like visually.
So
and I don't want to spoil anything, but I'm excited to see what they do with the other ones.
Explain the system a little bit. So he has the amplifier is inside Alina right now. What does that mean? Does he actually have control of her, or like
not anymore?
I didn't get it.
He had the thing in his hand.
Yeah, this was another change they made from the book. In the book, it was because he killed the deer and then put the collar on her. He had control over her power, and then she had like a vision where she was like, "Oh no, because I spared the deer, I actually have its power." But then in the show, they made it so he had the thing in his hand, and when she got rid of the thing in his hand, she got control of her power back.
Mm-hmm.
But she still got those. Is she still an amplifier though? Because that thing's
she still has it.
Okay.
Yeah. Like that is a much better thing than what they did in the book, I think.
It makes way more sense. Like having him have the thing in his hand, and then like having the connection, and then her tearing it out makes so much more sense than her just suddenly realizing that she had power all along.
Is how much of the author is working on this on Netflix? I'm just curious.
She's the executive producer.
Yeah,
she's the executive producer. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
That was actually a question I had too. I was like, as I was watching it, I was like, okay, the author had to be fucking involved. Leigh
Bardugo sold her rights, but she sold it in a way so that she had to be involved. Otherwise, the contract was like, she was like, I won't sell it to you unless I'm involved in the.
Okay, here's another scene. It didn't really bug me. I felt like it was just Netflix being Netflix. Jasper is fucking hilarious. I love him as much as I love all the Crows. I love that gunslinger type. But like the sex scene was like, is this really the time? You're literally surrounded.
Yes. Oh my god.
That's
okay.
That
is the point of Jesper.
There's always time to fuck dudes. There's always time.
Yeah.
Is this the time? Is this the time, bro? Because the
yes.
Really?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Like
Jasper.
I love that episode.
If you've never fucked mid heist, you've never truly lived.
I was like,
you haven't truly heisted until you've done that.
No,
that's just the energy he has. And the thing is, the reason why it is the peak, like it makes sense for Jesper to have the obligatory sex scene that they probably wanted to have in the show anyway, was that one, Jesper plot wise really was like had the weaker role, like he just had to secure a getaway vehicle. And two, that is pretty much just what Jesper is. Like he is
That's his character.
Yeah, that's his character. Like he has that charm. He has that
be gay two times. He's the epitome of being gay two
basically.
times.
Another part that I kind of felt was rushing is like, yeah, he's just chilling outside, and Alina just happens to come out through the door.
I love that.
Literally in the
I love it. He just watches her and he's like, all right, sweet. Well, that was done.
Jesper was hilarious.
I was so happy because that whole episode, I was like, are the plots not going to fucking intersect? That's the only thing I wanted to happen. I just want the fucking plots to intersect.
I wish it was another way. I wish there was another way other than Alina walks in, happens to get into his card, and happens. I was like, okay,
that's not what she happens. That Baghra was like, go out this way and you'll find this, and that's how you can get away.
Mm-hmm.
It was so she said specifically the opposite. She said turn right and Alina went left. But this is also like lifted from the book. Like when Alina escaped the palace in the book, she literally climbed into some random person's carriage.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I figured. I guess that was when you told me that they weren't in the book. When you told me that the crows weren't in the books, I was like, okay, so she must have like just crawled into a random person's carriage. So and then I was like, I was just thinking like, that's really fucking clever to take like the in the books it's just a random carriage, and then they were there. If you're in the fucking writers' room for the show and you're thinking like, okay, how do we integrate the plots? It's like, what if we make the fucking random carriage? It's the crows. It's already a random carriage. Just make it like random coincidental carriage. That's fucking clever as shit.
That is
also just I just love it because that whole episode just feels like Jesper's lucky day. Like all this stuff just goes so right for him. It's so funny. I love it.
He gets laid, he gets paid, he drinks Gatorade.
Yeah, like what is it? Just that little banter too at the end where Jesper knows, like, and then the crows are like, oh, we didn't find Alina, or we didn't get Alina, and Jesper's there like, did we?
Ask you where she is.
I love that so much.
I love that. Jesper's just sitting there. He's like, go on, Kaz, ask me.
Yeah,
ask
just come on.
She is doing.
Come on.
And Kaz is just like, Jesus fucking Christ, Jesper, what did you do? Did you kidnap her? What is going on?
Yeah.
I love that scene. I love that scene.
Like of all the episodes that like really define characters, and not just in the series, but like overall, that episode was Jesper's episode. Like, yeah, like Gabe said, I'm not going to reiterate it because I'm gonna ruin the joke, but like, oh, wonderful.
But okay, another thing, why the fuck did she turn left instead of right? I mean, she had very clear instructions, go right. Did they explain the book or what?
Confused.
It's because
she wasn't.
She wasn't. Okay, the fact that they showed or they played like the instructions over top as she got there and showed her turning left is evidence that she made that choice deliberately. She wanted to be on her own. She didn't want to be like, in Baghra's debt or whatever.
Yeah,
she wanted to figure out things on her own.
Because I thought of it as like...
Which actually I think is a good change, because in the book she tried to follow Baghra's instructions and then ended up, getting attacked and then runs into Mal and then they decide to hunt the deer. So I think this is a choice. I think this is a choice that makes her a more active protagonist.
Mm-hmm.
I also, like Gabe was saying, it ties the Crow's storyline and her storyline together, which is smart. For me as a show reader, it seemed like, oh, what a big coincidence. The Crows who want to steal this chick for $1 million, that same chick happened to get into their cart. You know what I mean? Because I'm taking it from a show perspective. But I get it.
I don't know. I was just watching the show, and like for me, like when she came out of the thing and Jesper was standing there, I was like, is she gonna get into the fucking cart right there? Is she gonna get into the fucking cart right there? Oh, she does. Beautiful. I love it.
For what they
art, poetic cinema.
Yeah, they nail how to pace. Like, I think, despite my earlier issues with episode 1, once the pace starts to pick up, they nail a lot of moments.
Yeah, the pacing in the show is so much better than it is in the book too. Mm-hmm. Like the pacing in the book is fine, but I just like as I was reading through it yesterday, I found there was a lot of moments where it was like, oh, we traveled for weeks and I was uncomfortable, blah blah blah, or like, oh, we did this for a few days, or weeks passed like that. Like there's a lot of moments like that were cut from the show.
Yeah, I think most of the second book is just them like trekking through the forest.
Yeah, I'm like, literally halfway through it and I'm like, they've been on the road for like 5 chapters and I'm like, can we get to the capital already?
Just
like,
go to wherever you're going already. Get there faster, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, the pacing in the books was pretty slow. Definitely compared to the show moves pretty quickly, but the books move. The first 2 books, especially the beginning of the second book, moves really slow.
I'm just like, can we just get to Alzalta already? Like, Nikolai, what is your plan? Like, you can explain it when we're there.
But no, he has to monologue.
I love his monologues.
For 7 days.
I love his monologues, though. I just love Nikolai. I can't get enough of him.
Who doesn't?
Me, I haven't gotten there yet.
Fuck, I don't want to go on ahead. Is season 2 confirmed, or what's their plan? Have they decided?
Probably. The show's super popular.
Probably.
Yeah, because I was number
say,
1 for like a couple weeks after.
Well, I was gonna say
top 10.
Yeah, this show's definitely getting a second season. Like, I feel like that's a foregone conclusion at this point.
Well, I was thinking also with like if the problem is when they're making it, you never know something's gonna take off. So I felt like they really the season 1 was really what's the word? Concise, like condensed, contained, which I liked, and it didn't feel rushed. Like I said, there's just little moments where I felt a little bit rushed and forced just to speed up. I do wish they go up to 10 episodes, because 8 episodes seems way too short. Like, you could have added a little bit more explanation to certain scenes or more characters, so that would be fucking fine.
Yeah, honestly.
They bump it up to 10.
If they had not nailed this adaptation, no way would people be wanting a season 2. Like, obviously, I think that's a given, but like when it comes to casual audiences too, like how are they able to invest in this? They did such a good job intertwining not just 2 different stories from 2 different books, but making it its own story that almost anyone can really invest in. And it would be almost kind of foolish for Netflix not to pick up on this. Like, not to pick up on the momentum, because if they were solely appealing to just book fans, I can pretty much say from just all of us here right now who have read the books that this adaptation is great. It is wonderful. It's
fantastic.
Yeah.
It's Kino.
If it was just up to us to adapt to, like, if it was just our opinions to get this show like reinstated, there, Netflix, please do it. But so many fans everywhere are agreeing that this show is good. And for casual listeners or for casual watchers too, like Gabe and Charbel, they really enjoy it despite having like only little to no information about the books themselves.
The casting, the casting, the camera shots, the action, the actor, all that was great. It was a great show, and Netflix has but I don't want to say they have all the money in the world, but even if you have money, you can still produce shit.
They certainly have the backing. Yeah, they certainly have the backing of the fan base. Like, the fan base approves of this. They want a second season.
Like,
please,
please. Yeah, no,
if I don't see Nikolai on screen, I might die.
Yeah, if they don't make a second season, I'll be
funny cat cracker.
Deeply upset if they don't. I mean, this is. I mean, I'm not trying to like sugarcoat my opinion or like blow smoke up the show's ass. Although, if there were a show that I would blow smoke up just blow, you know what I'm trying to say. it would be Shadow and Bone. But I mean, like, this is probably the most like thoroughly impressed I've been with the first season of a show since Game of Thrones. No fucking exaggeration. Like, this is the most I'm like. I'm invested. I want more. I want to see this show go on. The fact that the book series is finished also gives me hope that it won't be like Game of Thrones and it will have a good ending. There's some good shit waiting for me. But also, like, what's also hopeful is that like they have, like Game of Thrones, they've made a lot of changes, but all those changes seem to be extremely positive changes. Like, this is the show made by like a bunch of schmucks who don't know what they're doing with source material and are just making a bunch of fucking stupid decisions. This is made by people. This is clearly like made by, well, not just the author, but like people who give a shit about the series and want to like.
Also, not only is like the original Greta trilogy complete, but also the Six of Crows duology is complete, and then there's the Nikolai duology as well that is also complete. So like, there's 3 whole series there for them to do.
Leigh Bardugo is just not leaving anything to chance. She's like, I've completed all the book series, so y'all have your episodes and your ending.
As she should,
hopefully there's this. Like, I don't like as much as Dave. I mean, Dave, fuck Gabe. Sorry, but They'll make it work. They'll make it work.
Yeah.
That cliffhanger was fucking sick, to be honest, because I did love that final shot of just the Darkling walking out and the fucking his creatures coming out.
Yeah.
And then also like where they're at, like think what the Crows gotta go somewhere, Alina's gotta go somewhere, that chick, the fire chick with the blue cap, that she's gotta go somewhere. I like this. So there's multiple routes to go.
Fire chick, yeah.
Yeah, whatever her name is. I totally forgot her.
We didn't touch on this before, but it's such a small moment. I fucking loved it when Alina socked Zoya in that one training scene. That was
where she punched her in the face, and I wanted her to just like.
I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah.
I also loved Zoya's like consistent characterization of like just using her powers when she gets upset about stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was really good characterization for her, of her just like
I like the training too. He's like, don't fucking hit the sun, Seeger. I was like, holy bro, because they're precious to everyone. I thought that was like, damn.
Yeah. Like they nailed so many of the characterizations in the book. Like Ivan is this kind of stoic but very loyal person. Like they did that really well.
Yes. Question: Did it seem like they made Fedger and Ivan a couple, or in the show?
I want to.
They're very
they
I'm feeding my boyfriend.
Did he?
Yeah, he literally said my boyfriend when he was talking off camera.
That's great.
I was like rewatching it. I was like, they're like a couple, right? And then they were.
At one point, he's like trying to feed him dessert or something.
That scene is so cute.
Yeah.
That was wonderful.
Also, Nadia's like little comment about like, why is Zoya going after the Darkling when she could be with me? I was like, girl, go off.
Hell yeah.
I was like, ooh.
If that's
like, Nadia, why would you lower your standards to Zoya? Like,
yeah. Like if that's another thing too. Like if representation and diversity was important for the showrunners, they've nailed it. Like they have such a diverse.
Yeah,
I know that was something Leigh Bardugo said specifically she wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking about this with a friend earlier. I love how it's just like there are just gay characters in this series, and it's like it's the same thing with like it's the same thing I was talking about earlier. It's just like they're just there. There's no there's no like weird scene where a bunch of homophobia is shoved in. Like it's like it was just like they're just there.
Mm-hmm.
They're just there
like
being
Jesper's
gay.
just there.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, dude, fucking hell yeah.
Hell
be gay.
Yeah.
Do crimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be gay, do crimes. Yeah. That is everything that Jesper needs to be. But
well,
yeah, like
I love that he was like I don't know. I love that it wasn't it. I mean, like I like it's not that I don't want to see like gay characters be made a big deal of, because gay characters are awesome, but I kind of love that it was just like it was just he's just gay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like it was a
like
normalized kind of thing. It wasn't like a huge deal. I like it when they do that.
Inej is like, oh, you're flirting on the job.
Yeah.
Inej is just like Jesper.
It's just like you're flirting. There's no like you're flirting with a man.
And she was just like, Jesper, focus on the job and not the stable boy. Thanks, that'd be great.
Like I had said, they nail diversity in this show. Like Alina Starkov, like casting Jessie May Lee was the best decision for this was one of the best decisions for this show. Not the best. There was a lot of really good decisions for the show, but like one of the best.
One.
She was really good.
Oh yeah.
Also, like the choice to make the main character of the series a person of color when she wasn't in the book is
that's an interesting choice to me, because it goes back to like how I feel like the writers for the show were really smart with like taking like maybe like underutilized aspects of the book and like using them, because from what it sounds like, if she's not part Shu in the books, what the fuck do the Shuhan do in the books? Because it doesn't sound like
there. They're just there.
Exactly.
I had the exact same question.
Is it like Inej part Shu or something in the book?
No, she's Suli. Which is I don't remember. I think the Suli are just like, I think they're nomadic.
I think so.
So then it's like from that aspect too, because it's like if they took it, it just sounds like they kept like taking like aspects of the book that may have gone like overlooked or just like not really used, and they were like, let's do something interesting with it. So we have this whole country that's like to the south of Ravka, and they're supposed to be like big enemies. They don't really do anything. Let's fucking do something with them. Let's make the main fucking character part shoot. That's interesting. Let's do that. And then they fucking do it, and it's sick.
And that also gets rid of all the annoying, like, I'm so ugly stuff that was in the book, and like turns it into like something kind of important.
Yeah, and like people are shitty to her, and it's not just they're just like, oh, Alina, you're so ugly. Like
it's because she looks like the enemy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's fucking... it was in that moment where Genya first arrives onto the scene, and there were a bunch of the queen's maids there, and they were making like offhand remarks about how she was half Shu and shit. I'm like, shit, this is, oh my god,
that's good.
That's the queen herself being like, oh, tell her, I don't know, good morning or something. And like, I don't speak Shu.
That's good shit.
It's just like
that's
I speak English.
It's like good social justice commentary that feels genuine and makes sense with the lore of the world.
It's I don't know why they did not forced. I think that's what
exactly
makes it
feels
so
natural.
Like
what's
oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, but like, so the Shus don't do anything in the book? Because I thought she was legit Shu, and I thought there's gonna be like a big international dilemma between the countries. You know, like I'm going more down the dark path.
In the show, it might.
In the show, which I hope, because I'd liked it.
To be fair, like the Shadow and Bone, like the Grisha trilogy, is very focused on Ravka, and you don't really see a lot of the other stuff. We only saw Fjorda in this because Matthias was in it, and like we only saw Kirch because the Crows were in it. But like in the books, I think like they go to Ravka. You know, it's mentioned that Mal and Co end up in Fjorda at one point, but that you never actually see that. And then part of the second book is spent. I say part, like it's not like less than a chapter. Is spent in Novi Zem, which is a different country. That's but like the Shu play a bit more of a big role in Six of Crows. Like one of the main characters in those books is Shu. So
right,
I see. No, it's all good shit. None of it felt artificial to me. Everything made sense with the universe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is there anything else worth talking about?
The Apparat was just as creepy as I expected him to be.
Yeah.
Oh my god, yes, he was so creepy.
I loved him so much. He's weird and gross.
I think he's more creepy in the books, but also I feel like they did a good job of condensing him because he was only in like 2 scenes in the show, and he showed up a lot more in the books.
He was so weird.
His clothes. He's like, come here, listen to me. I'm like,
the fucking scene where he's like, but you've suffered and you're going to suffer more. I was just like, dude, chill.
I was like, dude, this isn't 50 Shades of Grey. Like, there's no need.
That's one story to compare that to, Jessica.
Wait, what? I missed that.
Okay.
Oh, and he was like, you've suffered and you're gonna suffer more. I was like, this isn't 50 Shades of Grey. You can't just like, you can't just walk up to someone and be like,
but yeah, I don't know. He's one of those characters that's really interesting because from what like I said, I haven't gone through Siege and Storm and I haven't gone to Ruin and Rising yet, but from what I remember, he's like an important character later in the trilogy.
In the 3rd book, he's an important character because after everything happens with Alina and stuff, she actually ends up staying with him and like his weird super religious sect.
Chilling with that guy.
Well, I guess I'm just okay. Well, fuck.
Well, I didn't want to go into too much detail because I knew Dean wasn't there yet. But I'm like, I'm pretty sure it becomes more important later.
Oh,
I didn't give anything away.
You kind of.
That's because Alex stopped you.
He like turns to Alina. He's like, "I'm cold. You want to huddle for warmth?" She's like, "What?"
Oh my god!
What?
Yeah.
That does not happen.
No,
He's like, I'm sorry. I'll go back to my books.
It's very fitting for an enemies to lovers thing, but yeah, that doesn't happen in the books.
No,
that would be super creepy.
He's just a religious fanatic, and I think they did a good job of like his weird interest with her in the show. He's so creepy. He's so creepy. He makes Alina so uncomfortable in the books. Like he's one of the few characters
so uncomfortable.
He's one of the few characters where Alina like complains about him a lot, and I'm like, okay, that's fair. Like most of the other ones, I'm like, girl, shut up. But with him, I'm like, yeah, he's creepy. Go off.
Who decided that Alina trades with the Darkling's mom? Did they just pick? Because I liked her a lot too.
What?
Oh
no,
yeah, we never
that's
really
the
talked
book.
about Baghra,
Yeah.
did we?
Baghra's
Baghra.
great.
I
I
love
love
Who
Baghra.
picked her? Who said, Alina, go talk to the shadow Baghra?
She trains all the Grisha.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she trains them all by like hitting them and like
No
being
one-
mean to
no
them.
one-
She should.
No one knows that she's the Darkling's mom. No
Yeah,
one knows
yeah.
she's also a Darkling. Like that's,
I thought
that's all a
because
secret.
did she say it was like a pain? It activates her power or something like that?
Sudden pain in the
Sudden-
show.
okay,
I don't
sudden
know if
pain.
that was in the book. I feel
I
like
know
that
The
that-
sudden pain thing?
I know that in the
Yeah.
book, it's like she does do a lot of like
yeah, but
hitting
like,
them and stuff, but I'm not
Yeah.
sure if it's quite the
but,
same.
like no, because I remember in the book when Alina's talking about like when she like suppressed her power as a kid, like there was when the testers came, they didn't cut her. They just had an amplifier that tried to, and then she just suppressed it. And then when the Darkling tried to test her, like later, he was also an amplifier, so he tried to amplify her power. She suppressed it, and then he cut her, and then it came out. But in the show, it's just the sudden pain is the test. Like they've made the amplifiers. Like I said, the amplifiers are completely different in the show, and that changes the way it works. Like their magic works.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
because I thought it was in the
Yeah.
blood as a TV show guy. I was like, when he cut her, I was like, wait, it's in the blood, the power?
No, it's from the pain.
Oh, okay.
Which is pretty metal, if you ask me.
Yeah, it is
Like,
sick.
hell yeah.
It's a nice way of like showing. It's a nice way of like fleshing out the magic system too, I think.
Yeah.
Making it something again that's like more visible for television because
Yeah.
you can't
Mhm.
always like translate.
Yeah, you
like I
can't
feel like
show-
that wouldn't have translated very well, right? Like
Mhm.
Or like her cutting herself with the cup and then to have the pain so that her power is suppressed, like is a much better way of just being like, I don't know,
She
her
do that
showing
at-
her constipated face as she tries to suppress her magic.
She
it would have been great. She just stares at the tester for like 30 seconds and nothing happens.
Yeah, that was definitely a visual thing for that, probably for that specific reason, because you can't show her suppressing her magic, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think they did a good job though at keeping it like relatively, like they did change it obviously to make it more visual, but they kept it fairly close to
Yeah. They
like
also
what it is in the books. So I
They
liked
also-
that a lot.
I noticed this because I forgot in the books, Alina has these gloves that she uses to like direct her light.
Yeah.
And they just
Oh,
like
yeah.
completely scrapped that in the show. Like they didn't have those at all.
She's like, she
like,
puts
what
them
is-
on once. She's like, I don't fucking need these. Fuck you, stupid.
Yeah, because like in the
Yeah,
book,
yeah.
she ended up not really using them anyway. Because the whole point was like, you know, these gloves are meant to control your power. But like by the end of the book, she didn't like she had control of her abilities without the gloves anyway.
I
mean,
think in like
so-
the beginning of the book, she uses them a little bit to like get everything going, but
No. She uses them throughout like the whole of the first book.
Does she really?
Yeah.
really the gloves?
Huh.
No, like the scene where the soldier grabs her and she like blinds him in the book, she uses the gloves to do that.
Oh, because it felt
Oh,
weird.
right.
It did felt weird to show when she's like, "Fuck, I don't need those gloves." So I'm like, I guess her training's going really well with that shadow
Yeah.
with the other girl or
Mhm.
something. That's what I assumed.
Yeah. But yeah, I was just like, I was like rereading the book and I was like, oh yeah, she had gloves. I forgot about those.
the show did move really quickly through like
It
her
did,
training and stuff.
Mhm.
Like her training is, I want to say, like half of the book, like half
Is
of the
it
first
real?
book.
Is it a
No, I was
podcast
paying
show?
attention to this on my reread. Like it's literally like halfway through the book that she's just like, you know what, I'm gonna move on from Mal, and she's able to summon her own magic for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
It's like
and then,
literally
like,
halfway through the book.
and they
like,
like
right before
summarized
the
it up
end.
in like 2 like 30-second clips, and I was like, wait, what? I was like it didn't, like in the show, it didn't seem like she had to work at it all that much. Like whereas in the book,
still
she
did,
was like,
but like in
Yeah.
the book, she definitely
Yeah.
struggled way more, way
Mhm.
more.
yeah.
Which
Which I guess, I mean, for like viewability, you have to make it shorter, but it seemed like they
Yeah.
just condensed
They also got like
it so much.
8 hours. for like 45 or so minutes per episode. Yeah, they had to speed up something.
Factor into that.
It's a very condensed book.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
Which is fine to speed up the training montage. I thought that was okay with that.
Like, factor into account the fact that there was also another story going on. Like, if it was
and then it seems.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Jessica,
it seems like less rushed because there are both stories, so you know that like time is still passing, and then you like check back in on Alina. But compared to the book, it's rushed, but as a television show, it works perfectly fine.
Yeah, if you spent any more time on it, I would have been like, okay, hurry it up.
Yeah.
Like, if it was just a story, like if it was just Shadow and Bone and no integration of the Crows, if it was just that, maybe they could extend the training montage a little bit, but even then, that might not be like the best watch for everyone, considering
it would also suck, honestly, if it's like we spend the whole 8 episodes, like, you know what I mean? If it's like 5 of the episodes is just her relationship with the Darkling, this kind of suck as a television show because you really only have 3 characters at this point, or fucking 4. Alina, the Darkling, the Taylor, her 2 friends. And that's about it for a television show. 4, like, fuck. And then the trader girl, whatever.
Yeah, so
trader girl?
The trader,
Zoya.
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 No, the Darkling's mom. Yeah.
Baghra, yeah.
But what you know what that was sad and fucked? What pretty good too is when they killed the decoy. I was like, no.
Yeah,
she's like, what? She's like, can you fix blood? And she's like, I can only like fix makeup. Like, I don't know what to do.
That was fucked up.
That was sad.
She was like, change my face back. I don't want to die with my fake face.
Yeah,
please fix my makeup.
Like,
I would love to die with a fake face on. That would be so funny.
Make me Washington before I die. Yes, he just transforms me. Like, yeah.
I have to give so much props to I have to give so many props to Jessie Meili for really carrying that scene, because like, you could, like, she had to act like, you know, she had, like, it was Marie who was the one who was acting, but like Jessie Meili really convinced the audience that, like, holy fuck, it was kind of that easy.
Even watching it the second time, when I knew there was a decoy in some of the scenes, I literally couldn't tell which ones were Alina and which ones were supposed to be Marie.
Yeah.
Also, I'm really glad that they incorporated the face changing stuff, because that's like good foreshadowing for stuff that happens later.
Yeah.
That I won't expand on because it's a spoiler, Jessica. Shush.
These writers are so.
It's okay. I don't even remember what happens
from the books. I haven't read the books, but I kind of want to now that I'm learning.
Do it.
There's so much shit that was like in the books that's like that's just sort of not there in the first book at least, and then they like took it and did interesting shit with it. Yeah. That's fucking awesome. That's like, rad as hell. I love that shit.
Yeah, this is why like it's still one of my favorite adaptations still right now, because it takes the nuances of Shadow and Bone and Six of Crows and makes it good. Like what previous adaptations have done before this is they take some of the more interesting concepts in the plot of these books and they kind of at best they kind of hollowly like achieve it, but at its worst they kind of bastardize it. But with this, like almost every single plot beat and characterization and concept that they execute, not only is it fulfilled for a lot of book readers, but like it makes people who only watch the series want to read the books, which is rare. Yeah.
You will be disappointed, I will say. Like, I like the books, but the show I definitely enjoy more. Like on my reread, I'm just like, yeah, like of my reread of Shadow and Bone, I was like, I miss the crows.
Yeah, and that's what's like integrating the crows was like integrating the crows was the worst decision. Hey Taylor, we're still recording.
Oh shit! Bye.
Okay.
That was iconic.
That was funny.
Oh my god. Okay. Yeah, I have to remember we're fucking recording. Okay.
Oh shit.
Okay, so like I was saying, it was such a decision putting the crows in, because it was one of the best worst because everyone loves the Crows so much. They nailed the Crows so much that as soon as you put them in and they did it well, fucking Alina Starkov's story was better in the show, but still, the Crows are better in every way.
It's just, I'm like rereading Shadow and Bone. I'm like, the only character in Shadow and Bone that I really, really like is Genya. Like Alina's fine. Nadia and Marie don't do anything. Baghra's cool. The Darkling is like, you know, he's intriguing, but he's like also creepy. But like, there's
kind
not
of
really,
an asshole. Yeah,
there's not really any other characters to like root for. And then like when Mal shows up, you're like, oh, Mal's back. And then, you know, that changes in Siege and Storm because you get you know, Stormhond and his crew and Nikolai, whom I love with all my heart, and like you get like good characters in that book. But in the first book, I'm just like, I don't care about any of these characters really.
Yeah, I remember reading the first book for the first time when I bought it, and I was like, this is so slow. Like, it's moving so slow. And then by the time I got to the third book, I was like, okay, cool. We've got Nikolai. We've got his crew. We've got some, like, fun, interesting characters. Like, I could do this now. Whereas with the Six of Crows duology, you have that from, like, the first minute you open the book. You're like, I'm here. I'm ready for it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the first book is very slow. Like, it's still good, but it's definitely not like a shining star.
I also I gotta give the props for doing that to grab like multiple books from multiple storylines and just compile it onto a show. That's pretty cool, honestly. And obviously you have the author there to help you out, because if she wasn't there, it'd be fucked. I'm not gonna insult their work ethics, but it's still if it all flowed really well.
Yeah, I do feel like her being on it, being like such a big part of it, is definitely what made it so good. Like if she hadn't been there, it would have probably been a disaster. No offense.
Sure.
Yeah, and she also could change it her way, you know. Like she's like, what if I did this instead in the show, which I didn't want to do in the book.
Yeah, I think Leigh Bardugo really understands like how to write for film too, or like write for screen too.
I think she did screenwriting and stuff too. Like she did that when she went to school and stuff too. So I think maybe that's why.
She also,
sorry,
from what I know, she also, when writing Six of Crows, like kind of by the time she wrote Six of Crows, she knew what some of the issues in her original trilogy were and worked to rectify them. And then when she went on to make the show, she worked to rectify them even further.
We love authors who learn.
Yeah,
that's good shit.
That's basically what I was gonna say. Like it's interesting. If I were but like if I had a book, like I would like. I mean, I would not turn down the chance to like if I had a TV show and I could go back and like make changes and shit. That would be so fucking sick.
Oh yeah.
Like that's an opportunity you don't really get like in this field a lot. If you put out a fucking book, like that's it. That's the fucking book. And you gotta, if you like realize you fucked up somewhere down the line, you can't really go back and edit it. So like it's an interesting situation where you can actually like have like a little retro hindsight. You can have a little hindsight on like shit that you are not like super proud of or happy with in your book. You actually have an opportunity to go change it and say like, okay, this is perhaps a better way of doing it. And it's fucking
also,
it's cool
like,
shit.
The problem, well, they're two different mediums. You know what I mean? Like, if in a book, if I really do like when I'm reading fucking fiction, I do like the long, not too long, but I like when they get into the griminess of them traveling and they gotta like scrounge for food. And the character gets into his thoughts about like whatever. I like that, but in a show, it kind of sucks. If there was like a 20-minute monologue of Alina thinking about her own life, that would really fucking suck. As a TV.
It should be so monotonous. Book could be great.
Yeah.
I remember like the cheesiest attempt I've seen to do that was in the Hunger Games movie when they were like they needed to put Canvas's inner monologue in
Canvas?
the movie.
Canvas?
Congress.
Oh.
Okay.
Rhombus. They need,
I'm just gonna go with it. Okay.
All right. Okay.
Yes.
Sure. Yeah. Whatever you say, Gabe.
they need to put Shimbus's inner monologue into the movie somehow, but instead of having it be her inner monologue, they made it like the sportscaster people, and like the have them like be like, oh, these are the bees, these are the super bees, you know these Stevie man Dan, and he's like,
What the fuck are you on about?
I sure know the bees. I sure know those bees are.
That's how he gets.
And, like,
That's how he gets when he's been drinking.
Yeah.
and in the books, she's like, oh, I need to get those bees because those bees are. And then that's how they adapt. Oh wait, no. Okay, hang on. No. I know what I'm talking about here. In the book, The Hunger Games, there's
Okay,
a
who
section.
just deflated right now?
I'm like trying to eat as you guys are talking.
No, like someone literally deflated like a fucking balloon.
There's a section where Lamppost needs to get to the bees. Am I tripping out? There's a bee section in the Hunger Games, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, that's what you're talking about.
Yeah. So she needs to get to the bees.
The bees.
And like in the book, she has a whole section where she's like, oh, these are super bees, and I need to get these fucking bees. And
Tracker jackers?
That's what they're called, tracker jackers.
Oh my god!
She needs to get the track jackets, and
The track jackets.
she needs to get.
She's putting on her sweatsuit before she gets the bees.
Stop roasting me. She needs to get the bees. And like in the book, she's like, "Oh, I know these bees. These are the super bees, and if you get stung by them, it's real bad." But in the movie, they have like the people who are like announcing shit for the Hunger Games, and they're like, "Oh, she's gonna get those bees. Just you watch people at home." So my point is. The point that I'm trying to get to, but y'all made fun of me for no reason. I've done nothing to any of you to deserve this. The point I was trying to get to was that inner monologue is hard as fuck to adapt.
Yes.
Yes.
I agree.
It is.
Jesus Christ!
Can to elaborate, Gabe? Actually, can you continue?
No,
I was gonna say that's why I think the 2 episodes with like the letters narrating over them worked really well, because we got to see both Alina and Mal's like inner thoughts, and like.
But like you also got to see like the imagery and like the different actions and stuff of what they were doing. Like it wasn't just the monologue, so it worked really well.
Yeah, like the plot never stopped while they were writing out the letters. Like there was still shit happening as they had those sequences, right? Like the Crows are still advancing to Ketterdam to the little palace.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which, like, I agree, inner monologues can completely halt the story. Like, it might be good insight into the character, but ultimately, if you're spending a whole chapter inner monologuing, that's boring. Like, it's nice to have some kind of progression, and how they managed to do that in the show was really well done.
That's why I a long time ago I decided I never want to write in first person again because I hate inner monologues.
I agree.
Yeah,
that depends on my genre.
I like writing in first person, but I've been struggling with it lately, and I'm considering changing third person.
But what's up with that conductor? So this guy just like randomly.
Oh yeah, I read about that.
So I like
the book at all.
He's not in the book.
He's not in the book. Okay.
He's not in any book.
Oh, I see. So he was just
He doesn't exist. He's not in any book. Not even a script.
He was a way to get the Crows across the fold.
That makes sense.
That's what he was invented for.
I was like, what the fuck? The government like found it, and the car like, explodes, just killing all of them. And the Crows are like, oh fuck, we gotta find another way to get through the fold.
That scene is so fucking funny when you have like the Crows lined up there and they're like, "Oh, you don't have a plan, do you, Kaz?" And he's like, I have a plan. I can drive the fucking train. I can do it."
Yeah.
And then it just blows up, and then Jesper's like, "Is it too soon to appreciate the irony?"
I thought it was really funny that like in an episode earlier he had rigged a carriage to explode, and then like when he was talking to Jesper, he's like, "Oh, me and R can think alike," and then the fucking train was rigged to explode.
Jesus.
Yeah.
It was very that scene is great.
I was upset though because I liked the train. I really wish to do more.
Are we going to talk about the best character in the show, Milo?
Milo.
The love
MVP.
of our lives, Milo the goat.
Yeah, one of my favorite sequences of the entire series was Jesper holding Milo and shooting fucking Volcro with just his pistols. Fucking wonderful.
I love that.
What a vibe. Like, what a vibe.
There's a reason he's my favorite.
Yeah.
Like, if you weren't sold on, like, you could be sold on Jesper's charm leading up to that point, but if you could not believe that he was an amazing shot by shooting a coin in midair,
that's a good introduction. That's so sick.
Prove his abilities. Like that should have put a fucking exclamation point on Jesper as a character.
I love him. Yeah. He's so good.
Like,
also, all of his outfits are killer. Like, I know this has nothing to do with his character, but all of his outfits are like outstanding.
Yeah. It has everything to do with his character.
The actors had good outfits. Fuck.
Yeah, like
that has everything to do with his character. Jesper's a fine ass dresser.
I want his style. I want
honestly, yeah.
His boots, fantastic. The top hat, ugh.
Yeah.
The jackets, though. The jackets.
Yeah.
He looks like a mobster for the fucking New York. I love it.
He's great. He's my favorite. I love him.
Yeah, it's such a nice contrast with Kaz too, because Kaz is obviously like all black and brooding.
Kaz is all black. Yeah. Inej is also all black, and then you have Jesper with like his bright green boots and like the red
Jesper's like the drunk uncle.
Yeah,
like a family gathering.
Jesper's the gay friend though, but like
not he's the gay drunk.
Yeah, but like
uncle.
not the he's the gay friend, not the gay friend trope.
Way.
Yeah. What other like I love the fact that like for plot reasons, I love how like as supposedly as a convenience or as like some kind of souvenir, like Jesper gives Milo a bullet
and then it comes back into play.
Yeah, that is nice. That is such a such a cool plot device. Like,
how does Brooke get out in the books?
Yeah,
I'm curious about that. How does he?
He doesn't. That doesn't happen in the books. In the books, the Darkling brings him onto the skiff in order to sacrifice him in front of Alina.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That'd be
so like in the show he was left to die, but in the book he was going to be sacrificed. Yeah.
He was going to be thrown into the fold after the Darkling expanded it.
What's also weird about when they're inside, they're like, so don't show fire, it's too bright, but they have those little blue lamps that fabricators made. So I was like, I guess if it's too bright, the monsters can see them.
It's like a tiny little light.
It's also fire is also heat.
Oh,
and also it's noisy when they use it.
Yeah, and they have to keep their hands touching or something like that. There was something about that, which I thought was kind of cool. What's also trippy was aren't the monsters in the fold they used to be humans? Because when
the Valkyrie used to be
activated, that was fucking cool.
Did.
That was so fucking cool. They showed that flashback. I was like, dude, this fucking.
I'm still not over that.
Yeah, right. He's kind of a crazy guy.
Every time I start that episode and they show the Darkling with long hair, I'd like lose my shit.
Yeah, you fucking sent me a snap of that earlier.
Because every time I watch it, I'm just like, oh my god, his hair.
It really, like, if the show did not want to like portray Ben Barnes as Prince Caspian, doing that really didn't do him justice.
I think that was the point, though, because like the flashback shows him as like a young guy who's just looking for a solution. You know, he's like the leader of this group of Grisha that are just trying to live, and he's like this hopeful dude. He's like, I'm just sick of people I care about dying. I'm sick of being hunted. I'm sick of all this happening. And then it's kind of like, you know, his descent is like that moment. So I think having like the longer hair to give him the more like youthful vibe works. But I also just think he looks a little bit ridiculous.
With the long hair, was kind of weird. Yeah,
there was
like the thing is, I tend to prefer men with long hair if they can pull it off, which I think Ben Barnes can, because him as Prince Caspian is like, yes, please. But like as the Darkling with the long hair, I just lose my shit every time.
Darkling
I think it's like television to show passage of time is when their hairstyle changed, because I'm like, if this guy had the same hairstyle for literally thousands of years, what's up with that?
If we're talking about okay, Jessica, go. I'll save my thing for after.
This is gonna be such a long episode.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I know. Yeah, all I was gonna say is I think that like when Alex was talking about how she likes Ben Barnes with like long hair, I was like, yeah, totally. I mean, the Darkling's been alive for how many years? He definitely went through an emo phase. So like he had to have long hair at some point. Like
yeah. I don't remember who I don't remember who I sent this to, and if I do remember, I'm not gonna say it for the sake of anonymity, but like there was this interview that Ben Barnes did with Jessie May-Lee where they were just asking each other questions, and he had this like really messy hair. Like it feels like he had seriously just woken up in the morning, and I'm like, fuck. Oh man, he's attractive.
He is.
He's a handsome boy.
I don't think we really elaborated on just how fucking good Ben Barnes plays the Darkling.
Can we actually fucking talk about this?
We should.
Okay. Like, I remember watching the show for the first time, and that was, like, one of the first things I noticed. I was like, he's really good as the Darkling. He's the perfect mix of, like, charismatic and creepy and, like, intriguing and, like, like, you know.
Switches that so well. Like, fuck.
It's the mix of it is so perfect. Like, the first time, like, he's like I said, he's charismatic and he's intriguing, and, like, he's one of those characters that you want to get to know more about, because you're like, what is your deal, buddy? But also, like, the first time him and Alina kiss, I was like shouting, I was screaming. That was Dean. I don't know if you figured this out, but when I was watching and I was ahead of you and I was just sending you like screams, that was when I got to the kissing scenes. I was so uncomfortable. I was like, no kissing. Like, I know it has to happen because plot stuff, but like also I was like, stop, you're so old, dude. Leave her alone.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense now. Yeah, she was fucking screaming when she was sending me those DMs.
But you know what? This is kind of cheesy, but in the flashback scene where the mom is like, we're shadow, whatever. We don't create things. And he's like, I created a thing. Like, it sounded cheesy as I read it out loud, but he says such a badass way when he's looking at the fucking fold. Yeah. Just killed who knows how many lives because of the fucking persecution of Grisha. I was like, damn, man.
He nails the word cunning so well. Like, from what I remember of the Darkling in the first book, like, yeah, as Alex said, he has the charm as well as that kind of like very evil kind of vibe to him. But like how Ben Barnes portrays him is so posh, but at the same time, like, he will absolutely fuck you up. Like him, like the special effects that complement the cut too just help that, because like, oh my god, when the cut first came, I'm pretty sure I'm about to get horny bonked for this, but like it was that same kind of awakening that I had when I saw Lady Dimitrescu from RE8.
Oh my god!
I 100 like seriously,
seriously. Last night, yo.
We can't fucking. Oh god.
Okay, wait, hold the fuck up. I knew. You see this? But like,
bed, birds, or Lady Dimitrescu, who do you want in your bed right now?
Why not both?
Here, audience, why don't you answer fast for us?
C is both. I forgot to add C.
If anyone is saying
both is good.
Who would you want to have in bed? The Darkling or Lady Dimitrescu? Like, send us the question in the comments.
Oh god.
Jesus.
This is how we up audience interaction.
Yeah. But like, no, like actually, like he oh my god. It's so good. It's so good. He's
the thing is, I actually don't find him attractive as the Darkling, but I don't know if that's just I don't know if it's just the beard or if it's...
Yeah, you said that before.
I don't know if it's just the beard or if it's also that I know he's awful. But like, yeah, no. But
it's
you know,
both.
like Inej, Jesper, even Alina, because Jessie Maley is gorgeous. Like,
wait, can we please, for the love of God, talk about Kaz and Inej? Because they have the best lines in this fucking show. Like, Alex, you and I were talking about it. You and I were.
They invented romance. I don't make the rules.
So they have, like, Kaz gives this stellar fucking line in episode 7, and Jessica, I'm about to read it to you. So trust me, it's even more impactful when Freddie Carter delivers it. But it's this in verbatim. Crows don't just remember the faces of people who wronged them. They also remember those who were kind. They tell each other who to look after and who to watch out for. No saint ever watched over me. Not like you have. And I'm like...
Kaz and Inej for you. Kaz literally in the book, I remember, I haven't read Six of Crows in like 2 years, but I remember Kaz and Inej being like, if I can get to you, I will get to you. If I can't walk, I'll crawl.
And I'm just like, literally invented romance.
He says that in the story also.
Like, goals. They are goals. Pure goals. That's it. Like, best couple ever, hands down.
But also, that line Dean said, he still says it with like the most deadpan face ever, which I just said in chat because I love that face. There's no fucking emotion.
Like, I adore that line so much because it really it really echoes to what Jessica was saying about that quote in, I think it was Crooked Kingdom. Yeah. So if I can remember it correctly, I think it was like something like, I would have come for you, and if I couldn't walk, I'd crawl to you.
I found it.
And no matter how broken we were, we'd fight our way out together. Is it
knives drawn, pistols blazing? Because that's what we do. We never stop fighting.
I fucking love them. I love them so much. They have the best goddamn lines in the book and in the show.
There's so many good lines in the show between them. I fucking love them.
In the book, there's one other line between them where Inej is talking to Kaz, and Kaz refuses to take his gloves off. And she's like, I will have you with no barriers, or I will not have you at all. And I was like, Madam?
Like, that's like what, reason number 406 why the Crows are suddenly overshadowing like the entire main story, because like fucking up until that line, the competitor for the best line in the series was Mal telling Alina that you're my true north. I think that's what the main story had.
That line is also really good though.
Yeah, it's good. Listen. But then suddenly fucking they do that, and I'm like, okay, well, fuck, it's over.
Listen, Melina has nothing on Kanej.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah, no one's even close. Like, you could give me any romance, like anything like Antony and Cleopatra, super like grand and historical, and I'm just like, no, this broken boy and this assassin lady, them.
it's like it seriously begins so early too. Like in the first episode, fucking like, I think Inej was like, oh, why don't you find someone else for this job or something, and
he's like, no,
they're not like you.
No one is special. No one's like you. Yeah. He boy has it so bad.
Oh my god, yeah, he's just heart eyes 24/7 for Inej, and she's just like knife eyes at him for like 2 episodes.
There was another really good one, but I don't remember where it was or what it was.
There's so many.
Okay, while you try to remember it, Alex, I'm gonna bring up this one moment that they did in an interview. So Amita Suman and Freddie Carter joined, I think, Danielle, I forget what her last name is, but she plays Nina, Jessie Maley and Archie Verneau for a interview. and it was supposed to be like this pretty standard interview where they were just asking questions and shit, but suddenly fucking like a lightning bolt comes in and just like echoes the entire thing. So it's like some kind of like special effect lightning bolt, but then like Archie runs into Jesse's arms, Danielle is there laughing, and then Amita runs out of her chair onto the floor, and Freddy's just there like, what? And then as Amita is coming back to her chair, you can see Freddy and Amita holding hands, and I'm like, their chemistry.
You're just like, yes.
Like, I don't know what it is about, like, I know exactly what it is about their dynamic, but like, yeah, Kanej is just peak.
It's
so
top
good.
tier.
Like, it's the kind of
chef's kiss.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, I will take their romance over everything else.
They're so
Yeah.
good.
So they're just so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I found a top 15 best moments from Shadow and Bone, and one of the other ones that's fantastic, completely unrelated to Kanej, sorry, going off on a different, like the point where after the Darkling's carriage is stolen, and fucking David is there talking with General Kirigan, and he just like puts his hand up, and General's just like, so you don't have to, yes. I love that moment. I love David. He's such a good character.
He's so good. I remember in the books too. He was good.
Yeah,
him
he was
and
a good
Genya
character
are
in the
so
books, and then amazing character in the show. Like,
I mentioned this earlier, and I saw someone liked my comment, but like they're so awkward, and it's like the scene where David comes into Alina's room, and then Genya's like, "Oh, hi, David," and like, "Oh wow, your inventions are so great," and then he just kind of like stares at her awkwardly, and then leaves, and then again later at the actual fete when they're like, when she's standing there and she looks over his shoulder at him and then looks away, and then he turns and looks at her and just smiles.
I'm just like, Jesus Christ, you guys get it together.
They're so awkward. I love them.
Even in the books, they were so awkward. Genya was always just like, yeah, like I need to go talk to David, but Alina, can you do it for me? I don't want to go. I'm so nervous.
I'm so happy that they kept that in, because like
too.
it I don't know if like just really how integral it is to the rest of the book, but in Shadow and Bone alone, it is such a cute moment, and it's a nice contrast aside. Like, it's a nice way of like breaking up the slow pacing that you guys are validly bringing up. Like,
yeah, and also it also just brings more dimension to Genya's character. Like, you know, she's like this beautiful, gorgeous, confident woman who's like experienced a lot of trauma, and then there's this guy that she really, really likes, and she can barely talk to him. It's like, girl, I love you. Yeah. Genya's the best character in the first book, hands down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been pronouncing her name wrong like this entire time, I think.
I prefer Genya personally, but it's Genya, so
I do too,
I'm doing it properly.
It's the whole fucking GIF versus GIF thing.
G's. Yeah. The letter G sucks. It's almost as bad as the letter C.
Okay, is there anything else worth talking about? Because we pretty much like ran through a lot.
We've been talking for a long time.
Yeah, you're gonna have a lot of content.
You know how at the beginning of the episode I said it would be really funny if we did a 4-hour episode?
Yeah, basically
do you want to risk that? Because we can keep going.
No,
I'm a little burnt out, and
I don't think we should. I don't think you should do it. I think
I'd love to take my headphones off.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So for everyone listening, first of all, if you've made it this far, how the fuck were you able to do that? Secondly, I guess just as a final overall thing, we really love the show. Please make a second one, or please make a second season. But
please,
yeah, let's not. I'm assuming a lot of us are now burnt out because we've been recording for.
Put it inside me. I want to see it. I want to see it live.
Okay, you're going too far.
On television,
right,
on the internet, online. I don't need to sleep.
Yes, you do.
I didn't. I don't.
Okay. So thanks everybody for listening. If for some reason this gets to the showrunners and or possibly Leigh Bardugo herself and like all of the people involved, you did an amazing job from us 6 and for possibly the entire community. We love you.
Everything that you guys did.
Yeah.
It's good shit.
Thank you so much. Aside from that, we at the InkGuild have a bunch of shit to promote, I guess. So pretty much, our social media is down in the description below if you're on YouTube, and if you're on Spotify, it is on our homepage. That too, we're on Spotify as of this episode. I didn't really think we would ever really do it, but yeah, we're now on Spotify. All of season 1 is now available to download. This will be up as soon as it's available because we don't want you to miss this episode. But other than that, you can also find us individually at you can also find us on social media at the InkGuild on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. We are also on Twitch, but we don't really stream that often anymore. Our main page that we've started, or we're putting up most of our content, is on YouTube, just at the InkGuild. And as well, you can also find all of us individually in the description down below. For our closing segment, because this was definitely not a traditional podcast episode, I just want to say that this was really fun, like going kind of in whatever direction, just talking about a show that we really enjoy. So I'll ask everyone here right now, do you guys want to do more of those moving forward? Just maybe sticking to some kind of structure, but not ultimately being more formal about it, despite not us being formal whatsoever.
I would love it.
I'd agree with that.
This is very fun. We do apologize for the chaos, but
we
hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
If you come here and you don't want chaos and you want order and structure, I will top your dad.
Yeah, that's just a quick thing too. For everyone who found these podcasts for whatever reason and we're expecting some kind of formal discussion on set topics, we're all 20-something-year-olds. The most you're gonna get from that is probably me, and that is because I'm only trying to lead the discussion. Everything else is completely unscripted. And as it
you're telling
be.
me I'm supposed to write a script?
Why would I write a script?
I stick to it to the letter. Everything that I've said on this episode has been completely scripted and written down line for line.
Oh, so the bees thing was a preconceived thing.
Yeah, it just says the letter B 20 times on a piece of paper.
That was all on script. I had this all planned out.
We've been scripting these behind your back, Dean. Sorry we didn't let you know.
What the fuck?
Dean, I hate all my crazy wild rants. Those are all super planned out.
This is also in the script.
Let's see what I was gonna say.
His keyboard broke at this point, so we just left it in.
Wait, what show are we talking about again?
Oh,
I'm really tired.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Yep.
Press the button.
Okay.
Press the button.
Yo, where are my Grishas at? Yo.
Press
I just wanted to say that for so long. Come on, Grishas.
Hey.
Where are my Grisha at?
Yeah, so hey Jessica, welcome back. It's been a while.
It's been a hot minute.
Yeah, you and your adult job.
Crow in the books?
No, she's in Shadow and Bone.
Okay. Damn it.
She gets cool though. Don't worry, she gets really cool. I mean, she's already
pretty cool.
She's already cool, but she gets cooler.
Wow.
It is my job as podcast host to find opportunities to plug. Even if it's our own product. You guys are just
We're just
I'm gonna
products
sit here and
to
listen
you.
to my own parts of the podcast.
Where the hell did you get that, Gabe? That is not at all what I meant.
You said you guys are just, then you cut off. I finished your sentence.
Yeah, because I didn't know what else. I didn't know what else to say.
Merchandise to you. We're just
No, not at all.
You landlord.
Landlord.
I don't know what I meant by saying that, but I'm gonna stick with it. You
Is
fucking
he like
landlord.
renting us like tuxedos?
I don't know. Do you think I know what the meaning is behind every word when I say it before it comes out of my mouth hole? I don't know shit.
I guess like how a landlord exploits people for their money, I exploit you guys for your opinions.
Wouldn't that be like a feudal landlord?
Give me your silver
lord.
or your goats. Oh, character is also great.
I love Genya.
I feel like I've seen that actress, like the actress somewhere, but I can't remember where.
What's her magic again? Like fabricator or some shit? Like what is it called?
Okay, she's a tailor, which I was rereading the book. And she actually is like a mix between a corporalnik and a fabricator. Like she has kind of like both abilities, and they combine together into tailor apparently.
Oh, okay. Well, I was thinking like, wouldn't she be great for torture? Like she just fucking cut off people's limbs and regrow them back and some shit. That's what I was thinking. Wouldn't she be awesome?
I don't know her powers. I think the way I thought of it was like she has like Sims 3 character creator ability.
Creator.
From what I've heard, the like Russian elements aren't actually incorporated that well into it, but I think it like works well, like aesthetic wise.
I think that's why it surprised me. It's like this not a lot of the story like really like grabs you as like Russian inspired, but that the fucking infrastructure, I was very like, wow, this is fucking Russia, dude. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Okay, are we?
That is a shock.
We need to start recording.
Yeah, I really don't want to exhaust all of our talking points.
Dean, have you not been recording? Press
I've
the button.
we haven't formally started.
Press the button.
That's what heart renders are.
Oh.
Yeah, heart renders will just destroy you without even breaking a sweat. Actually, that's what Nina does in both books, in Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom. She's literally just like standing on the sidelines, like eating dinner, and she's like, "Are you guys done yet? I've already killed like 7 people."
Yo, who's the guy? The Cade? It's Cross, right? Or Crack?
Kaz. There's no R.
Okay, Kaz.
Yeah.
Listen, I love all the crows except Matthias.
What?
He's not really a crow, so like
he's Russian.
He's not actually.
He's like he's something.
Fjerdian.
He's Fjerdan.
Well,
yeah, but he's a cool Russian accent. I love him, but he's not a character. He's a goat. He is beyond the character.
He is so a character.
He is ascended from characterhood. He's a goat in real life. The goat is not a part of the character. The goat is. Do you think he knows he's on a film set? He's just a goat.
Playing a goat disguised as another.
He is not an actor. Do you think the goat is a fucking?
How dare you?
Excuse me.
The goat is not given line.
Wait, hold the fuck up.
I think your performance was lacking in the scene. I need you to give a little bit more of the character's motivation in your performance, sir.
Gabe,
I'm offended on the goat's behalf.
Milo is a perfect static character. He, for spoiler, I won't say what happens, but in episode 7, have you forgotten the role he plays? Like the important role he plays in progressing the plot along in episode 7. Have you forgotten that?
What do you mean? I took a fucking Snapchat of it.
And you said with the hardest balls that he is not a character.
Listen. What I meant was. He's the goat. The goat itself is not. It's just a goat. It's just a goat. The goat does not wear.
I can't believe this.
I'm on IMDb right now, and that goat is really famous. He's in a lot of great movies. He's in Lord of the Rings. I saw him in a lot of Game of Thrones.
Is he Aragorn? Is he Aragorn?
There's
the sword.
There were 2 goats. Fun fact.
Oh, are you serious?
See what I mean?
Look at that. Alex is becoming a trivia person.
Tired, the other one has to step in.
They have to. Okay, maybe this destroys my argument though. Because if there's multiple actor goats, then it is a character. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the Doctor in Doctor Who. They just keep switching and hope no one will notice.
What happened to the first one?
Also, goats.
Is it okay?
The goats are fine. They just had 2 goats that they switched between.
Why did they have more
color? I swear to God, one of them was like black, and they're both black and white. Or am I tripping out?
They were both black and white.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also, goats, like, they shit a lot. Like, I learned that from Bam Margera. All the shit, like, all the scenes with the goat shits.
I watched a video, like, behind the scenes, and the actors were talking about there was 2 goats. One of them pooped on everything, and one of them screamed the whole time.
Wow.
I love it.
Jessica, did you just say who? Me?
I said me.
Oh.
That's so
I
funny.
am both of those goats.
Fucking mood, though, honestly.
Anyway.
Okay, all I know for now is that all of this is going to be at the end.
Well,
even in audio
so
only.
chaotic.
Yeah.
So chaotic.
This is the most people we've ever had on one episode.
Yeah. It's
Let's
good.
Go. Let's go.
Let's go.
All right.
Night.
Guys, we still need to do the mid-episode segment.
We do.
We completely derailed from that. It was.
We need to do everything.
Yeah. Okay.
You need to key us up. You need to introduce it.
Okay. Well,
Do
I
your
already.
job, Bean. Come on.
Do your fucking job. Press the button.